All of us, at some point in our lives, are affected by mental health problems. We might have mental health problems ourselves, or know someone who does. Conditions range from the most common, like depression and anxiety, or problems with alcohol or drugs, to bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. It is well known that poor mental health contributes to physical health and social problems. It also results in economic loss for individuals, families, and communities. And people who experience mental health problems are often socially isolated or at risk of human rights violations. Yet, even though poor mental health has serious consequences for whole societies, it remains one of the most neglected areas of global efforts to improve health.
I have a mental health problem.
I have a mental health problem.
I have a mental health problem.
We
have a mental health problem.
Our problem?
To this day, we still don't have laws
to protect the rights of mental health sufferers.
That is a big mental health problem.
We need help.
We need help.
Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our host, news anchor and mental health advocate, TJ Manoto.
Good evening, everyone. All right, good evening, everyone. Good morning to all of you from me here in San Francisco, California. I'm TJ Manotok, and welcome to Hope for Mental Health. Tonight, Hope for Mental Health, a mother's story. Tonight is a celebration of hope as we advocate public awareness in mental health and well-being. It is our hope that this online event would contribute toward creating communities of hope and recovery as we endeavor to help reduce the stigma attached to mental health. I'll be your host this evening, and as you know, this event is jointly organized by the EPCALM Adult Leukemia Foundation of the Philippines and by the Philippine College of Physicians. Join me as we listen to the personal stories of 10 courageous mothers who will share how they coped and dealt with various dimensions of mental health challenges in their lives. A panel of experts will also be present to give their insights into and learning points from the mother stories as well. Before we proceed further, let's turn to prayer to bring our lives into concert with God's divine will. Let us thus offer our event to our God who watches over us all. Our opening prayer will be led by EPCAM Spiritual Care Director, Pastor Bernie Lagos.
Thank you, TJ. Let's go to the Lord, as I always believe that we give honor where honor is due. So, Father, we thank you so much for this time. Lord, your word tells us that if any of us lack wisdom, to look to you, because you will give it to us liberally and without reproach. Lord, we lift up all of these people and all the families that they represent who are struggling, Father, in mental health in difficult times as these. Lord God, it is overwhelming, and it's even more overwhelming if we don't have you. So we ask, Lord, that through this time you increase our faith. We set aside the worries of the world And Father, we look to you. You are our protector. You are the lover of our soul. So Lord, speak to us, enlighten us, encourage us through this time. We look forward to what you have in store for each and every one of us, Father, in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor Bernie. Thank you very much. And now to formally, officially open our event, let us hear the welcome message from one of the organizers. Friends, please welcome the President of the Philippine College of Physicians, Dr. Mario Panaligan.
Mental health has become an important issue, especially now during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we need to remember that this problem has been present for a long, long time. Indeed, it has become enormously a huge quandary resulting to various consequences which are quite tough to handle, as it has interfered with our daily living as to how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. At the beginning of this year, the Philippine College of Physicians has started to engage with this relevant concern, exploring this form of uneasiness that has affected us both as individuals and as healthcare practitioners. We need to look at it seriously, as we must find out solutions that can make us work effectively. Tonight, it is with great pleasure that we are collaborating with EPCALM, or Erwin Piedad Cabanag Adult Leukemia Memorial, through our Committee of Advocacy Chair, Dr. Eileen Demere, by listening to the narratives of mothers who struggled and dealt with this difficulty, confronting the complexities and intricacies that resulted from the worries and troubles related to mental health problems. We shall be hearing from experts, their views and insights on how we can manage and cope with such strains and inconveniences that put lots of pressures among us, not only as individuals, but with the family as well. Let us see and appreciate as we learn how to outlive the various hardships that coexist in us. Stay safe and good evening to all.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Panaligan. Friends, we hope that this evening will be enlightening and refreshing for all of us. We are blessed to have music icons who will share with us special performances. Their gift of music will truly inspire us to move forward in these uncertain times. Our first guest performer is an EPCALM advocate who will be singing his original composition. This song offers hope as we try to find some light during dark moments in our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Top Suzara.
Hi everybody, Top Suzara here. How are you? I hope that you're okay, that you're well and staying safe. Alam naman natin it can be pretty rough nowadays, but we hang on and we keep hanging on and we help others hang on. So here's a song I'd like to offer to all of you. It's called Light in the Dark, and it goes like this. don't know where to begin. Oh, helpless, nothing makes sense. Your defenseless, going against something faceless. It's taking control, but don't you ever lose hope. There is a light in the dark. It's flickering deep in your heart. It's waiting inside you to show you you're never alone. And know that I'm never too far. Calling, I'll be where you are. I'll be there beside you, there to remind you there is a light in the dark. You wanna break free, but you smile so no one will know. I've been there before, and it feels like there's nowhere to go. Oh, you'll make it through this. Believe me, I know. Just take my hand and don't ever let go. I will stay with you, and I'll pray with you. And no matter how dark the night grows, that one little light always glows. There is a light in the dark. It's flickering deep in your heart. It's waiting inside you to show you you're never, never alone. And know that I'm never too far. Calling, I'll be where you are. I'll be there beside you. There is a light, even in the deepest of nights. There is a light. He is a light in the dark. Oh, let's be a light in the dark. I hope you like that one. I truly believe in that message that I'm trying to share with you. I hope that you will hear it, and I hope that you in turn also share it, with our other friends and family. Strangers, doesn't matter. Don't be a stranger. Take care, stay well, God bless you. Bye.
Maraming salamat. Thank you so much, Top, for that very inspirational song of hope. Great way to start this evening's program. At the bottom of your screen, usually it's the bottom left, under the comments, you see the share button there. You can hit share. You can share it on your wall. You can share it with friends on Facebook Messenger. We have an excellent lineup of experts, performers, and of course the mothers. The mothers are the stars of the show tonight, and we have an amazing set of mothers who will be sharing their authentic and heartfelt stories that will move you for sure. Now, for a better appreciation of the personal testimonies of our 10 invited mothers, we've grouped them into 3 clusters. Each cluster sharing will have 2 panelists that would give their respective insights as well. And we wish to underline, however, that our activity tonight is not designed to process anybody's specific mental health issues. Rather, it's our objective that through self-introspection, you may be able to put in perspective your own state or your loved one's state of mental health. At the same time, this may help you discern some early signs of anxiety, depression, or even suicidal tendencies. It is our wish that you may be empowered to seek help and support, as well as other appropriate interventions as we seek to help others to help themselves. At this point, we will now present the first group of mothers, and we begin with my conversation with my mother as we talk about what she went through and what she was going through in her life during my period of anxiety and depression during my growing up years. Let's now listen to this heart-to-heart talk. For the very first time I get to interview in public, please welcome Miss Aurora P1. Well, hello, Mother. Thank you for doing this. Thank you. Finally, I have a chance to interview you and chat with you. So I'm looking forward to this. We have very limited time, so let's get straight into it. First of all, do you remember the very first time that you saw anything or felt, and maybe a first episode that I had that you can recall, and how were you initially reacting to it?
You're already manic. Yeah, and then you were just pointing in the sala, the devil's there, the devil is there, and I don't know. So that's the start. You never know when I panic because I just go stoic. When I'm trying to process something, I just, without even mindfulness taught to me then, I just sort of, okay, what's going on? So I just go like that because I guess it's already my mindset that if there's a problem, I just have to solve it. There's nobody else who will help me solve it. So here I am processing it, trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay, we did many things like meditation, crystal healing, acupuncture, we took supplements, but talk therapy really helped me so much. And Fred Uriarte, my psychologist, was such a blessing.
Yeah, again, how I chose him, but I don't know if I was given other names, but again, I was told you still have to see a therapist. I mean, this is not just, it is a chemical imbalance, but you have issues that had triggered that.
Yes.
It cannot be because it could have been traffic, but it triggered that. And apparently you had issues. Somebody who's a professional has to guide you. But when I was told again that Fred is a victim healer, he's been there, he has gone through, trials himself. Yeah. So it's always nice. It's not just something studied. It's something you can relate to. Because, when I say this, he understands. Then you became really good friends. Yeah.
Let's go back a bit, and so that viewers can understand what you went through. I mean, to me, you seem incredibly strong. I knew you were meditating at the time, but I'm sure also there was a roller coaster of emotions for you. What was it like for you? How would you describe that phase for you?
I am strong, really. I am. I mean, if I were an outsider now looking at me, I am strong, and I felt strong. And yeah, I can be emotionless in that sense. It's a mindset that I just got to do what I have to do and be strong because I'm a single parent. It's more of that, if I were to analyze it, than anything else. Your therapist was telling me, he said, TJ surviving this too because because you're tough.
One thing about your mom was that you had this, what we would call tough love. There were times I couldn't sleep. I would knock on your door, and I would, I'd want to just sleep in your room and hug you, and it made me feel more safe and secure. But you were reminding me, you'd say, no, you can't come here because we have an agreement. Like you told me, you have to do your meditation, do your breathing. You have to learn how to take care of yourself. And I guess it's not easy for a parent to do. But what was it like? I mean, you were tough, but you were assuring.
I don't even know because somebody told me you have to breathe. So you breathe in when you do meditation, you breathe. And now through the years, I've seen so many meditations, and it hit me that I said, funny, everybody meditates from under different names, Zen, Christian centering, TM, and all this. And yet they all do the same thing. It's just breathing. So why do they like it so much? Because I feel, this is my analysis, the brain is rewired when you do the proper breathing. So it calms you down. So whether it's TM, whatever, and then you just breathe. So call it meditation. On what I did, the first few days that I did instinctively as a mother, I said, first week or second week, na sabi ko, so many siguro are so embarrassed by this. So the stigma hit me. And so I went to your school, I went to Ateneo, and I talked to the principal, and I said, can I address you, the teachers, and the classmates. So he gathered them all in one big room, because you have always a lot of students in your class. And so I addressed them. And of course, I forgot now what exactly I told them. And I said, the gist is, and what's important is, this is the gist. And I asked everyone, I said, how many of you here have asthma attacks? As in attack. Because I always, when I try to explain things, I don't know why I go into analogies. So there are 4, 5, 6 who said they had asthma attacks. I said, that's an attack. TJ has a different attack. It's called anxiety attack. And so please, when he gets an attack, help him. He needs a support group because he's not home. He'll be in school. You have to do this to his cheeks. You have to splash water on his face. You make sure he has a brown paper bag that he has to breathe there. Up to now, I never knew the reasoning of the brown paper bag, but you brought it all the time. So if he runs amok out in the garden, he runs under your table, that's okay, you group hug him. Yun. There goes the stigma. Nobody looked at you in a funny way that you're crazy. And I don't know if you had an attack in school, but I think for me, that is the most important thing that everyone has to address at the very beginning. Forget stigma, because why are you embarrassed by something that is not your doing? It's not the doing of the parents. It's not the doing of the child. So forget it and really believe in it, that hindi mo kinahihiya, you know? So I know there are many parents who, I can understand why, but who are just so embarrassed that they've kept this and kept this. I can imagine how much worse they have made it for the children. And I'm not blaming them. They just don't know any better. That's why I guess we're sharing this, because I think that really helped you a lot, that's no stigma.
So to wrap this up, what would be your message now to parents out there? I can imagine there are parents out there who are in denial. They're afraid of the stigma. You know, I hear stories about parents telling their kids, "Huwag ka maarte, magpakalakas ka ng loob, kulang ka lang sa dasal," and things like that. You know, what would be something you want to say to them, that for parents out there who might be having difficulty accepting it themselves before they can even help their children?
One really is to accept it and to be, what's the term for it? Be assured it is not your fault. It is not your fault. Yeah. You are coming from the stage of being guilty, and you transfer it to your child. Yes. And your child picks it up, whether you say it or not. Mm-hmm. Whether you say it or not, and that's how we raise children. We don't say a lot, but they emulate us, they do this, and they also get your strength. But if you start from that point, you're just going to go downhill. That's how I feel anyway. Now, in hindsight, lalo, no? Yeah. And so you say, and you tell the child, he says, I'm not guilty. I don't think I've done something wrong. So you affirm that, if you have to affirm that 10 times a day. And then you tell the child that they also are not guilty, that these things happen to everyone. And that, yeah, they're not going to go out in the streets and have a megaphone and say, hey, I'm manic depressive. But hey, share it with people, best friends, barkada, girlfriends, whoever. Because, well, you'll get support there. You just add to the support group. Yeah. So I think what's really important is to remove the stigma. But if you remove the stigma, first you have to come from a point of being at peace. You're at peace that hindi mo kasalanan ito. Hindi rin kasalanan ng genes ng lola ko, ng tatay ko. Walang may kasalanan. This is just the genes, di ba? And then something triggers it. And even that, like the issue whether it's whatever it triggers that. For some, it could be because they're gay, the others because naghiwalay, or whatever it is. Again, it's you're being authentic. So never feel guilty about being authentic. I guess if I have to send the message, yan ang story ko. Yun lang, if you were to edit everything else and just do this, it's really that. I think that's how you really survive. And then eventually you pick that up, and I think you're sharing it now with others that
Well, Mother, thank you very much. Again, I want to say thank you for your love, for your strength, for helping me survive and finding a way to thrive. And you've been a blessing to me, and now you're a blessing to many others. Thank you. Love you. And there you have it. There you have it. That's my mother, Aurora P. Juan. So allow me a minute or two just to give a little bit more context for those who know me as a journalist and do not know me as a mental health advocate. 2 years, about 2 years ago, I released a video telling my story. So you can watch that, so like the prequel. You can watch that just either here on Facebook or in YouTube. Just search for "You Will Be All Right," TJ Manotok, and you'll see my video there. So you'll see what I went through and how I explained my journey. And just to add a bit to what my mom was saying, and that learning how to accept was so key for both of us, for all of us within the family, and eventually that led us to that path of balance and peace and healing. And it was really taught to us by our mentor Max Ricketts, who was a mental health advocate in the Philippines in the 80s and the 90s. And he just really taught me to let go of blame, to let go of finding cause and who to blame for what I was going through, and just to accept what I was dealt with at the moment and learn how to adjust from there, learn how to adapt from there. And it took a while, but when it was ingrained in my subconscious through positive affirmations of accepting myself, I accept myself, it was so key. So again, thank you. Thank you to my mother, who was so brave to share the story. In fact, that was a whole 36-minute conversation that she felt bitten that we had to edit to the 10 minutes. And we'll find a way to post the whole video here on Facebook or in YouTube. So for those who want to see the whole interview with my mom, I'll be putting it up soon. All right, moving on now. We have another mother who will share her story of how she went through the struggles of her daughter who was in depression. This is the story of Miss Emma Magsino.
Hi, I'm Emma Magsino, a mother of 2 adults, married to a teacher. I am working as a social development worker. My first encounter with depression came about one night when my daughter came to my room and said, "Ma, ayoko na. Gusto ko nang mapahinga. Pagod na ako." Hindi ang sagot ko, "Uy, di mag-leave ka. Magpahinga ka, magbakasyon ka." "No, Ma. Ayoko na. Ayoko na. Ayoko na. I want to end my life." "End your life? What do you mean by that?" "Ayoko na mabuhay, Ma. I had it. Pagod na ako." And then she started crying. Sobrang lakas that my other daughter came into my room and said, "Ma, you should have listened to me. Sinabi ko na sa iyo noon pa, dapat i-psychiatrist natin si Mimi. Bakit hindi mo kasi dinadala, hindi mo pinapansin?" And I remember ko na sinabi niya ngayon sa akin, hindi ko talaga akalain, kasi hindi ko naintindihan yung problema. Ano talaga yung problema? Bakit? So, sabi niya, "Ma, she attempted suicide 3 times already." Suicide 3 times? Alam nyo, na-paralyze ako. Hindi ko alam anong gagawin ko. Hindi ko alam anong isipin ko. And just we all cried together that night. And sabi ko, saan ako nagkulang? As a mother, I gave everything to you. I gave you anything that you need. I'm always there. Sabi ng anak ko, "Ma, it's not about you. It's about her. We have to have support. We have to find help. We have to bring her to a doctor." And so what I did, I texted everybody. Of course, hindi ko na maalala kung nakatulog ako that night. Natawagan ko lahat ang kailangan ko matawagan, and then nakahanap kami ng appointment. Dinala ko yung daughter ko doon. Tinest siya, tapos sabi ng doktor sa akin, "Your daughter is highly suicidal. So, Mami, itago mo lahat, ang kutsilyo, gunting, kortina, lahat, pati mga beddings na pwedeng ipagtatali-tali na magagamit para siya mag-suicide. Kasi, suicidal yung anak nyo. At ito po, ibibigay ko sa iyo, inumin yung mga gamot, etc. At pagka po nagkaroon pa ulit ng isang incident, ito po yung referral nyo, pumunta na kayong diretso sa Makati Medical. At ito, basahin nyo ganyan." Alam nyo, hindi pumasok yung mga sinabi niya talaga. Paikot-ikot lang sa ulo ko. Sabi ko, ano yun? Bakit? Anong nangyari? And so I said to myself, "Lord, I need help." So I started again calling all my friends, ask for support, ask for prayers, and then help came. So maraming tumawag, nagpe-pray for me, even Kulides mag-texted. I don't even know her personally. She texted me, said, "Emma, I want to talk to you and to your daughter." And she became our spiritual guide, counselor. So she prayed for us every day. She follows me up. Tinitingnan niya anong nangyari sa akin. And that gave me really a support. It helped me a lot. Our pastor also helped us every every day. May tumatawag sa akin, nagte-text, kamusta ka na, ganito, etc. And then they even closed her, yung third eye, kasi mas nakakahirap daw yun kay Mimi dahil sa third eye niya, marami pa siya nakikita. So, matulog para makatulog din siya ng maayos. What I did was just support her. Psychiatrist, psychologist, nag-resign po ako kasi sabi 24/7 nandun ako. I have to give up my job. And I asked her to also resign para maka-recover kami pareho, maka-recover din siya, mabantayan ko siya. After a year po, ayos naman po siya to the help of friends. Importante talaga po yung kung ano yung kaya kong ibigay. I have to be the rock, but hindi ko kayang ibigay yung kailangan siya pa rin yung gagawa ng paraan para sa sarili niya. So we really need to know when to find help, when you can do these things. After a year, she went back to work, I went back to work, but it did not end there. Another daughter of mine suffering again from anxieties na hindi ko, and depression and all. Naku, sabi ko, ano ba to? Hindi ko na alam nung gagawin ko ulit. Prayer and all, but again, we have to get support. Kasi para talaga siyang parang wave. May cloud na parang ngayon okay ka, minsan cloudy, biglang mas grabe yung depression, minsan mild lang siya. But what's important is I have to be there, hug them, give them all my love, support them, and tell them na kakayanin ito kasi nandito kami. As a mother, yun ang naging role ko talaga, na maging rock ako sa kanila. Although pag minsan kinakabahan din ako, natatakot din ako, but the friends help me a lot, the prayers help me a lot, and then knowing na may Panginoon na tumutulong sa akin. Yun lang yung nakaka-guide sa akin. Ang learning ko dito, I should have listened to my daughter. May sinasabi na sa akin, hindi ako nakinig agad. I should listen. I should accept it na merong suicide at nangyayari sa pamilya ko to, nadidepress ang mga anak ko. Totoo to, hindi to fake. Kailangan ko siyang tanggapin. At kailangan kong humanap ng paraan, humanap ng tulong, at kung ano man yung tulong na kailangan ko ibigay 24/7 to them. They're doing well now, pero may episodes, minsan mabigat, minsan hindi, but these things happen, and I have to be with them. I have to be a rock for them. Now, I'm learning. I have to look for ways to learn about this. Hindi ko naintindihan to suicide and depression na to. Wala to noon. Hindi namin tinuro. Wala kami ganito experience before. But now, it's so happening almost everywhere. Anybody can have it. So, but I have to learn. Mag-aral ako para matutunan ko to. And so that I can also help other people identify this disorder. Kung ano man to, tanggap ko na siya. Nangyayari to sa pamilya ko. At maaari rin pong nangyayari sa pamilya nyo. You just have to ask help. Salamat po.
Thank you so much for sharing your story of you and your daughters, Emma. We honor you for your bravery. Maraming salamat, and we hope that your story can enlighten and inspire other mothers to be as brave as you as well. Our next mother will essay her life journey raising 3 children with a celebrity husband, confronting depression among family members, and how she faced the challenges of her life. Friends, let's listen to Angeli Pangilinan Valenciano.
Hi, I'm Angeli Pangilinan Valenciano, wife of Gary V, mother of Pau, Gab and Kiana, mother-in-law of Samantha, and grandmother of Leia. I'm the president of Manila Genesis Entertainment and Management, and also the boss of GV Productions Inc. I am part of the Shining Light Foundation and Operation Blessing and CBN Asia. So I am an artist manager, a writer, a housemaker, and everything else in between.
Number 2, briefly describe the mental health challenges that you or your family is going through.
We've gone through so many mental challenges. I personally, to start with, I was forced to be a second mother of my 8 brothers and sisters, starting when I think I was 10 or 11 years old, and then up to where I started handling all the family finances and everything that has to do with mothering 8 children. And so somewhere along the way, I I guess something was robbed from me. That's what I feel, that, I didn't have the chance to have a normal childhood. Meantime, Gary had divorced parents, and he was bullied in Florida when he went to the States to study. So he came back here, but his house burned. And while in Florida, he got type 1 diabetes. So it was so much trauma in his life that also caused him to have a lot of emotional challenges. And then Paolo, Gab, and Kiana were bullied because they were children of Gary V. So it was so difficult because Paolo had a teacher who called him Bulok, and they would say, "Oh, you can't dance like your dad." Gab would be bullied, and people would say, "You don't look like your brother. You're not guapo." And then Kiana was dark, so they didn't like her color, So sometimes people would make fun of her. So they were bullied almost all their, high school, grade school, and college life. So it really took a toll on our emotional quotient. And so you can say that we are the model of mental health challenges.
Number 3, how has this affected your own state of mental health?
As a mother of this family, I think you would really understand that to have a son like Gabriel, who was diagnosed with a bipolar condition, and having at 5 a.m. in the morning or 5:30 in the morning to rush over because he called his father to say that he had taken so much substance, and you don't know if you're going to reach him alive. I mean, how does that affect a mom? I mean, to think that at any given time, you would think that you could lose your son, And being a mother of 3 genius children and wife of another spectacular, amazing artist, I mean, it's like the left brain and the right brain fighting. So you're right smack in the middle, and you many times you feel like you're all alone. And so I found my strength in the Lord, and been able to find inspirational messages in the Bible that have really caused me to be able to at least balance my emotions with everything that I've had to go through with my family.
What have you done so far to manage your mental health challenges?
As a mother, I have learned that our entire body, the bodies of your children, need all kinds of medicine, doctors. Like when Gary had his bypass, he had a cardiologist, he had a nephrologist. I mean, because he had cancer, right? He had a rheumatologist. He had all kinds of endocrinologist. I mean, he even had a nutritionist. He had like 13 doctors. So when you go through so much emotional challenges, naturally it takes a toll on your mental health. So why can't you go see a psychiatrist? So many of us in the family, most of us in the family, have taken time to see a psychologist, a therapist, a psychiatrist. So we have sought professional help. Gab, because he was diagnosed with bipolar, regularly communicates with his psychiatrist, and he also takes regular medication.
Number 5, you kind of answered it already, but have you sought professional help? Who have been most helpful in coping with your present circumstances?
Well, I believe that the body, okay, take 2. I believe that we are made of body, soul, and spirit. The body needs vitamins, medication, and everything else. And so we have a mental health issue, you go see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a therapist. But we're also made of a soul. So we surround ourselves with good friends, with your family, and good doctors. And the spirit, most important, you surround yourself with your pastor, your priest, somebody who can help you spiritually to be able to cope with all of these natural challenges that are part and parcel of life. I see a psychiatrist, not all the time. I mean, after my fourth psychiatric visit, she said, "You don't need me anymore." But I took tests and everything, and she said, "No, you're fine." I just went through a very major challenge when Gary went through a depression after his kidney bypass, cardiac bypass, and kidney cancer surgery. I mean, he really went into depression, and and the doctors told me that it was normal to go through post-traumatic stress disorder. So he surrounded himself with mentors, our pastor who could help him, and the Bible helped him a lot.
What have been your sources of hope in this journey?
Well, I just said it. The Bible, the Word, the Lord. The Lord has really been my source of strength because, it's like the diabetes. If I did not educate myself regarding being able to do first aid for hypoglycemia attacks, seizures, and everything Gary has gone through in his life for his medical ailment, I don't think I'd be able to survive what we have gone through with Gabrielle, with even Kiana. Kiana goes through anxiety and depression. And it's largely also because she's always been compared to her dad. I mean, how do you feel when first question, many times in interviews, how does it feel to be Gary Valenciano's daughter? And sometimes she just wants to say, can you just ask about me? So if you ask me, I mean, coping with the help of professionals, and for some, medication, and of course prayer is the only way to do it. The balance of all these factors.
Are there some personal advice or lessons learned which you may wish to share with others who may be facing the same mental health challenges?
Always remember that mental health, when you have an episode, many times these are triggered. So you gotta be able to understand your children's strengths, weaknesses, their secret life. All children have secret lives that the parents will never know, and get close to their friends and understand what makes them happy, what brings them joy. Know your children. Listen. Many times when they talk, you cut them right away. Remember that at the age of 18, your children need to fly. Let them fly, but be there with a little string to bring them back. You know how I deal with my children is I bribe them with food. I make sure that every week they have their Sunday dinners, really good food, because it also, family community get-togethers are also very good for mental health, because you're able to communicate, hug, love, laugh, cry together, argue, pray together. You got to be able to pray. You got to be able to listen to your children. You got to be able to not judge them. Like Michael Jackson said in his song, "Have you seen my childhood?" More often than not, we haven't been bullied the way our children have been bullied on social media, which is one of the worst things that really our children go through. Instagram, seeing the world is greener on the side of your neighbor. I mean, our children have had to go through a lot of factors that we never had 20, 30, 40 years ago. So I would say make time with your family. I think this is the best thing that the pandemic has done. I think that it has brought families again together and pray together. I mean, and never forget that professionals are there for you. You don't solve a dental problem with a cardiologist. When you have a mental problem, go see a psychologist, go see a therapist, go to a psychiatrist. And you know what? I believe that given the right person for you, you will be able to overcome all the mental challenges that you will certainly go through in this new normal, different life that we have today.
All right. Amazing, amazing sharing there from Angeli Valenciano. Thank you so much for being so candid, so honest, so authentic. It's rare that you find celebrities and celebrity families who are willing to pretty much tell everything about the challenges they're going through. So we're blessed to hear from them and the learnings that they got, and what we're learning from them. And there's so much to unpack from all that. Obviously, from the challenges and the stresses of social media that this generation of young adults and teens are going through nowadays. The importance of connections, of family connections and social connections, and of course, being conscious about your parenting, and how she realized how she has to be more conscious about being a good parent to her kids. So thank you so much once again, Angeli. Thank you. Now, moving on, one of the sectors seriously affected by the COVID-19 pandemic is, of course, education. Teachers, parents, and students alike are experiencing difficulties with their home-based schooling nowadays. Our next mother tells her perspective on online learning today, a psychology professor from the University of the Philippines. Please welcome Dr. Jocelyn Chan Del Mundo.
Hi, I'm Jo. I'm a mother of two, a grandmother of two as well, and I am a university professor. I noticed lately, because of this pandemic, that some of my students are slowly beginning to feel the pressure and are so apprehensive of what's going to happen in the future, and at the present, how they are able to cope with all of the challenges brought about by remote or distant learning. On a second note, the absence of warm and personal face-to-face social interaction has also caused a lot of mental turmoil and anxiety on the part of my students, and even in myself. Nothing compares a warm interpersonal relationship wherein you are able to really feel and see face to face who you are talking and communicating and dialoguing with. Finally, on the account of me being a mother, well, and as a teacher, well, the only thing I can say is you really have to find your inner strength. And the way I have been doing it for myself, for my children and grandchildren, is that prayer helps a lot. Communication with co-believers or your friends or other relatives is also very, very effective. That way you're able to express what's bothering you, and you will be able to hear the perspective and the point of view of the other person's side, and you will eventually find out that you're not alone. We are all into this together, and so therefore we can only encourage one another and pray for one another.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jocelyn. We're all in this together. It's not easy. We're all learning and coping together in this new normal, something that's so alien to us. But as you said, as long as we're doing this together, we learn from each other, and we take it one step at a time. We will improve on this, and we will get better. Thank you so much. I just want to say a special greeting to the whole Valenciano family. That apparently they're watching, they're commenting in Facebook. And Angeli, Gary knows how much of a blessing his music was for me when I was going through my depression and anxiety. So I can't thank you guys enough. Maraming salamat again. Meanwhile, speaking of blessing of music, the peace, joy, and comfort of prayers have been proven to increase and aid in both mental and physical health. We will hear the power of prayer in the midst of mental health challenges and how it paves the way for healing. Friends, let's now listen to her mother's story, Miss Kula Desma.
Hi everyone, it's Kula Desma. I have to say to you that mental health is very close to my heart. I am burdened when I hear of children going through mental health challenges. Illness, it is an illness. When there is an issue of pain in the heart, it is an illness. And that's why Jesus went on the cross to heal us. When he was whipped, the Bible said, we got healed. But you see, if we don't go to him for answers, if we don't make time to know how God works, who this God is, then it's not gonna happen. I could tell you a long, long story about what happened to my daughter, how she was diagnosed bipolar, and I couldn't believe my ears because my daughter was totally fine. She was not born of any problem in her mind. But yes, I got separated from my husband, and she also got bullied in school, and so we didn't know about this. So you see, there are things that are happening in the hearts of our children that we don't know about. And when we are too busy to really find out what's going on, to pray and ask God for help, to study the words of God, because these are the healing words, the promises that by the stripes of Jesus, we are healed. But if we don't have this personal relationship with Jesus Christ, it's not gonna happen. You can just see that getting psychotropic drugs from doctors, that is not the total answer. It is the easy way out. And you know what your children are gonna look like? Like this. I don't think we want our children that way. I'm not saying the psychiatrists cannot help, but they are not the total solution. Because you know what? When it comes to the spirit that has been broken, when there is pain in the soul of a child or on anyone, when it is spiritual, you need to answer it in a spiritual way. And the way is through life words. The promises of God, they are the answer to our pain. That's why Jesus came, that we may have life and have it abundantly. He is the answer. The cross and a personal relationship with Jesus Christ is the answer. If you never make time to study the Word, the Holy Scriptures, the Bible, you will never find out the amazing promises of God. And He is faithful to all His promises through Jesus Christ. The Bible says all His promises are yes in Christ Jesus. One of my favorite promises, so powerful, is in Ephesians 3:20. It says He is able to do exceedingly abundantly more than we can ask or ever imagine. Psalm 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord. He will give you the desires of your heart. The prayer of a righteous man is powerful and effective. What's righteousness? I couldn't tell you this. It's going to be, matuwid na buhay. It's hard to have a matuwid na buhay without a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. But you see, the first part of John 10:10, when Jesus said, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly, the first part of that says, the thief, ang diablo, ay dumadating lamang para magnakaw, pumatay, at magwasak. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. But I came that they may have life and have it to the full. That's what Jesus says. And if we never come to Jesus, we will see our children just taking the psychotropic drugs year after year and after year. And Isabella took psychotropic drugs for 14 years. But when she anchored on Jesus Christ and we studied the answer, and that is through obedience to His Word, my daughter changed. I changed. And our relationship is so much better now. We can laugh at the past. You cannot see you can't see any trace of my daughter having any mental challenges, mental health challenges. My daughter is well. I'm not going to say she's perfect, but it is so much easier for her to control her emotions. But why? Because she has anchored herself on the Word of God, developed her relationship with Jesus Christ. I wish I have all the answers, but every child is different from another. You don't know what is the cause of that pain. Are you such a nagger? A parent that nags so much? That was me. I was impatient. I kept pushing her. Is your daughter bullied in school? Do you encourage her? Do you affirm the great things, her giftings, na magaling siya, maganda siya? Because you don't know what's going on in school. And when they're bullied, that is so painful. When they are told that they don't look pretty, when they're this and that, and all these awful words that are thrown to our children, and then other children join in, that's painful. And that goes into the soul, and they don't understand. And this is when enemy, Satan, takes the opportunity to even bombard our children of all these negative thoughts. That becomes depression. That becomes such a deep sadness in our children. They don't know how to get out of it. Kung tinatamad kang magulang, ang gagawin mo, gamot na lang. That's the easy way out. But I tell you from my experience, it's not happening. Look at all research. Listen to all the testimonies of people who took the psychotropic drugs. It is not the total answer. Dapat yan sandali lang. Hanggang kumalma ang anak mo at makatulog at para makausap. Pag nakakausap na ang anak, and it might not have to be a parent speaking to a child, it will have to be somebody else. And it takes prayers, because sometimes our children don't want to listen to us because we've hurt them. So it may have to be somebody, someone that will have to visit your house, someone, you will have to find someone that she will listen to, and you have to pray a lot. And so a relationship with Jesus Christ is so important. Ikaw muna, ang magulang muna dapat. A parent should first develop a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. If we love our children, we gotta make time for that. We gotta make time to research, to study the Word, and find out how God can heal our children. And Jesus is the only way, the only truth, and the only life that will heal, that can set us free. May God bless you. I hope this helps a lot.
Thank you so much, Ms. Esma, for that very, very powerful and emotional sharing. We totally appreciate your strength and your passion for helping so many people. That we just met one today, and for sure there's many more that you've touched lives already. So thank you once again, Ms. Desma, and we'll be hearing from her again later on today in the program. Meanwhile, we've just heard five mothers who shared their personal stories in handling various mental health issues. They've included, going through the children's depression and anxiety, the difficulties of online learning today, and the role of a prayerful life in tackling life's challenges. As we mentioned earlier, we have invited a panel of experts who will be sharing their insights and learning points from the personal testimonies of these mothers that have shared their stories today. Our first panelist is a psychiatrist from the Asian Hospital and Medical Center, as well as a professor from the UP College of Medicine. Friends, please welcome Dr. Salvador Benjamin Vista.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, TJ. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this evening's wonderful sharing. I would like to first congratulate all the mothers, because as all of you know, mothers play a significant role in everybody's life. And even those who are in mental health know that actually the developmental sequences that each and every one of us follow actually centers around them. And through listening, you can really tell that all of these wonderful mothers have been the center of the development of all of their children's lives. And you can palpate the love and care They have shared different aspects of what I see is a model that we probably can follow. That indeed, when one needs to integrate or create a resilient mind, they should be mindful of three things. One is they should be mindful of their body. And so the sharing of, for example, PJ's mom, Miss Aurora Pijuan, in breathing, okay? And of course, it was mentioned by Angeli Valenciano, the need for us to really consider the body in the physical body. So an integrated mind is mindful of the body, how you sleep, how you eat, how you exercise, how you not take drugs and not go into addictive behaviors. And quiet time. Those were messages too. PJ even himself mentioned meditation and being able to just center yourself every day. So, a resilient and integrated mind is mindful of the body. The second thing is an integrated and resilient mind should be mindful of the mind. And each one of us should be mindful of our minds, like was said earlier and discussed. And it was said, we need to start really seeing our children, because in seeing our children, it goes beyond just looking at their behaviors, but really seeing the person behind the behavior. You know, there is a attachment theory in psychological and psychiatric education, and it goes four ways, no? How we treat our children, and that is, do you really see them? And it was mentioned by several of the mothers that we need to listen. We need to know what their lives are, well, within certain limits. And of course, we need to soothe them. It was mentioned by Mrs. Magsino na I needed to be their rock. The third is we need to make them feel safe. And the fourth is we need to make them feel secure. And in dealing with our children in this way, then perhaps maybe there will be a more secure attachment between us and them, so that the ability to fight all the threats, right? Social media, especially now, bullying that doesn't just happen in the school, it happens when they get home, because the bullies aren't anymore constrained by doors. So that's just one aspect of the mind that I saw in our sharing. The third, of course, is being, being mindful of your thinking, your feeling, almost every moment of the day. That would be something that will make your mind integrated and resilient. And of course, fourth, you need to be mindful of your relationships. And it was mentioned by all the mothers. No? You need to be mindful of your human-to-human relationships. You need to be mindful of your relationship with the environment, with the world, with your workplace, with your school place. And of course, the third and probably the most powerful and most common among all was your relationship with God. Because really, without all these three balanced, there will be no way that the mind can be resilient, then the mind can be integrated. So this is my take on the sharing this evening. And again, I really am struck by the humility by which all the persons who shared, all the moms who shared, have come forward and tried to kind of erase the stigma somehow, because that really is one of the things that really is a big barrier to the delivery of good mental health care in this country. So I will stop there. Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you so much, Doc Vista. Thank you for your inputs. Thank you for highlighting those critical points, and you're able to amplify them, no? And for everybody to really take note of them and to really truly see some of the most important aspects of everybody's stories. And thank you from wherever you are, whatever galaxy you're from right now. An honor to have your presence with us. Maraming salamat. We'll catch you again later on in the program. Meanwhile, our next panelist is a National Professional Officer of the World Health Organization. Friends, please welcome Dr. Jasmine Vergara.
TJ, and thank you to the Philippine College of Physician and Leukemia Foundation. Yes. So would like to also thank you for the mothers who have bravely shared their experiences and truly reflects the experience of a caretaker, a family member who is after a child or a family member who has undergone depression or anxiety or a mental health condition. In WHO, in recent years, there has been a lot of, what you call increasing acknowledgement of the importance of mental health or the role of mental health in an individual or the whole society at large. And through this conferences, media interviews or talks, increase awareness on mental health and how these issues can be addressed by families, friends, colleagues, or even in the school or workplace setting. In WHO, we work in member states and all countries, especially supporting here the Department of Health and key partners in, as emphasized by Ms. Kuledesma, it's not just focusing on the treatment, but in the whole full spectrum of mental health, coming from the promotion of well-being, don't necessarily need medication in that, but promotion of well-being, those breathing techniques, those other spiritual or addressing the needs of how to take care of one's mental health, the prevention of mental disorders, or the efforts to increase access to quality mental health care that is respectful of people's human rights. We have heard about elements of stigma, addressing that, especially your mom, TJ, of how she bravely addressed that in school. This is actually one of our clear focus. And actually last year, just would like to share the video that you have earlier seen was a key video of the WHO Special Initiative for Mental Health. So it'll be a key element for the next 5 years. And it's cascaded or implemented in the what you call this countries, the 12 priority countries, and Philippines is one of the first 6 countries that are implementing this. So as mentioned also by Dr. Jocelyn Del Mundo, with the COVID-19 pandemic, right? The new realities of working from home, temporary unemployment, and homeschooling for children, the online learnings that we are all facing, like what we're doing here as well, communicating with others, the lack of physical, contact with another is hampering that, that human touch and connection with others. But while we are still in this category of finding the treatment, we emphasize that we can still get socially and connected emotionally, even despite the physical distancing, but maintaining that social connectedness, right? As emphasized by TJ's mom, children, growing up can have a full challenge and opportunity. This can be starting from, changing in school, making new friends, or going through puberty, or preparing for other exams or stresses in life. Some children may have a different take in this. Some children may have a different way of adapting this and may add additional stress. And I love how your mom has emphasized the aspect of a physical condition relating to a mental health condition, that the way we look at mental health should be the same as with any other physical health, right? And I'd like to emphasize this, that in depression, as also narrated and shared by the different mothers, depression is an illness and not a character of weakness. Sometimes some people view this as a weakness and hamper their, coming forward and seeking treatment or asking their help from their parents or their family members. Depression is both preventable and treatable. We have heard from the different moms of how they have reached out to friends, family members, or mental health professionals that can provide, the psychosocial and therapeutic needs of their children. And it is also emphasized in the experience of the mothers we have heard, the support that they have provided that facilitates the recovery of their children through depression. Patience and perseverance is needed, as recovery can take time. And as we want to highlight this as well, talking to your children, listening to him or her about what's happening, reaching out to the people that the kids know and trust, maybe inside or outside school, or seeking advice from the professional care provider, acknowledging if they don't understand depression, learn about it. It was emphasized by Miss Emma Magsino. She wanted to learn about depression, so she know how to take care of her children and how to look after her kids. Protecting children from excessive stress and maltreatment, those being bullied in school or by other people that may not able to understand what's happening. It was emphasized by Ms. Angeli Pangilinan Valenciano of how listening without judgment can offer a wealth of information and key ways of supporting your kids, your family members, or healthcare provider. I mean, your people that would be able to help your family members. And I would like to end my reflection in this discussion is that when taking care of people with depression or with a mental health condition, remember that you need to also take care of yourself. It was emphasized by, having to surround yourself with people that would make you feel positive, protected, and you'll be able to do the things that you also enjoy. So looking after someone with a mental health condition or depression is great, but you also have to take care of yourself. With that, thank you, TJ. And I hope we can hear more about the discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc Vergara. Maraming salamat to both doctors, Doc Vergara and of course, Doc Vista, for really encompassing the conversation, picking out the excellent points from all the mothers. I just want to, highlight as well and emphasize the importance of physical health and mental health. And one of the things that I always share when I give talks nowadays to share my stories, that one challenge to Filipino parents is that to give importance to mental health as much as we do give importance to physical health. Remember, when our kids are young, pag bata mga anak natin, pag tumatakbo sila, ayaw natin madapa kasi masugatan, ayaw natin mabasa sa ulan, baka magkalagnat. So we're so paranoid about their physical health, any sickness we don't want them to get. But it's a challenge for us to be more on the lookout also about their mental wellness and their mental health, So it's an interesting thing to put that mindset to parents and make them give priority and importance as well to looking after the mental wellness of kids, not just when they're unwell and then they'll treat it, but preventing it and strengthening them. And as Doc said, making them resilient as well. So wonderful, wonderful points. Thank you so much. Great discussion so far. All right. Later tonight, we will be responding to your questions. Anybody out there in the audience watching through our Facebook Live. You may send them if you are in the Zoom, you can send them to the Zoom Q&A chat box, and as well you can put them on the Facebook comments as well. Somebody will be gathering those questions, and I will be asking them to our 5 panelists who will be coming back later on to answer your questions. Now, before we have the second group of mother stories, let's first listen to another song of hope. This time we have no less than the concert king himself. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our EPCALM ambassador, Martin Rivera.
To the Philippine College of Physicians and my EPCALM family, thank you so much for making me part of Hope for Mental Health. And there is hope. There really is hope. But you have to go the distance. God bless you all. I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a hero's welcome will be waiting for me, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, this is where I'm meant to be. I'll be there someday. I can go the distance, and I will find my way. If I can be strong, and I know every mile will be worth my while. And when I go the distance, I'll be right where I belong. Down an unknown road to embrace my fate, though that road may wander, it will lead me to you, and 1,000 years would be worth the wait. It may take a lifetime, but somehow I'll see it through, and I won't look back. I can go the distance, and I'll stay on track. No, I won't accept defeat. It's an uphill slow, but I won't lose hope till I go the distance, and my journey is complete. Yeah, yeah. But to look beyond the glory is the hardest part, for a hero's strength is measured by his heart. Oh, oh, oh. You can do it. Like a shooting star, I can go the distance. I will search the world, and I will face its harm. I don't care how far, for I can go the distance till I find my hero's welcome waiting in your arms. I will search the world, and I will face each harm till I find my hero's welcome waiting
All right. Thank you very much, Martin Rivera. We'll be hearing from him again later on in the program as we'll be blessed with a new original song. Can you believe it? Yes, from Martin Rivera. So stick around for that. Thank you so much, Martin. Obviously, that song truly gives us hope and inspiration as we all weather many of our lives' challenges together. Now, if we have the concert king, well, tonight we also have the concert queen. Friends, here's EPCOM advocate, Pops Fernandez.
Don't lose your way with each passing day. You've come so far, don't throw it away. Live believing, dreams are for weaving, wonders are waiting to start. Live your story, faith, hope, and glory. Hold to the truth in your heart. If we hold on together, I know our dreams will never die. Dreams see us through to forever, where clouds roll by for you and I. Souls in the wind must learn how to bend. Seek out a star, hold on to the end. Valley, mountain, if there is a fountain, washes our tears all away. Words are swaying, someone is praying. Please let us come home to stay. If we hold on together, I know our dreams will never die. Dreams see us through to forever, where clouds roll by for you and I. When we are there in the dark, we'll dream about the sun. In the dark, we'll feel the light from our hearts everywhere. If we hold on together, I know our dreams will never die. Dreams see us through to forever, as high as souls can fly. The clouds roll by for you and
All right. Thank you so much, Martin Rivera, Pops Fernandez. We're so blessed to have such a star-studded cast of people to inspire us, entertain us today. So it's an amazing experience so far. Again, for those of you who just joined us, feel free to share this Facebook Live. If you're watching Facebook Live in the bottom left of your screen, you can see the share button. You can send it to a Facebook Messenger contact, share it to your wall. They can watch this after the show. They can watch it on replay as well. So the more you share this, who knows how many lives you can touch. Hello to everybody watching, not just in the Philippines, all over the world. I'm in California. My cousin Clint's watching from Melbourne, Australia. There are others from Europe as well, the Middle East. So hello, good day to all of you. Thank you for being here with us. It's a blessing to have you all with us. All right. At this point, we'll now present the second group of mothers as they narrate their experiences of going through illness and loss. We begin with a mother who went through the pain of losing her daughter to leukemia. Let's listen to the story of Mercy Villastupas.
Hi, I'm Mercy, member ako ng EPCALM since 2012, zero-field member patient, and ngayon member volunteer. Sa mga nakakakilala sa akin, siguro yung ngiti ko ang pinakamahirap para sa kanila na maunawaan. Yung huling 10 taon ng buhay ko, hindi naging madali. Ang hirap kasi nasubok yung tatag at tibay ng loob ko. April 2010, nagkaroon ng malaking sunog sa Kainta na damay yung tapat namin na bahay. At isa doon yung ancestral home namin. And May 2012, nung malaman namin na may leukemia, yung panganay kong anak yung si Rodney. Dito sa Pilipinas, yung pagkakaroon ng isang klase ng sakit na kagaya ng leukemia, napaka-challenging para sa emosyon, sa pag-iisip, lalong-lalo na financially, siguro pati spiritually. Hindi siya madaling tanggapin, pero sa family namin, we developed the habit na iwasan na lang magreklamo or tumaing, and magpasalamat na lang sa bawat umaga na kasama pa namin si Irvin. April 2013, she didn't make it. And siguro kung may pinakamasakit para sa isang ina, yung mawala ng mahal sa buhay, lalo na kung yung anak mo ang mauna sa'yo. 6 months lang yung pagitan, sumunod ang tatay ko, October 2013. Very close ako sa tatay ko. He's very malambing. And doon ko na-realize na walang hihigit pala talaga sa sakit na mawalan ng anak. And sabi ko nga sa tatay ko, tay, pasensya ka na kung pag umiiyak ako, mas si Robin pa rin ang iniiyakan ko. And I'm very sure na naiintindihan ako ng tatay ko kasi siya ang nagturo sa akin na bukod kanino man, unang-una ang anak sa pagmamahal at sa pag-aalaga. December 2015, nung nalaman ko na may other woman ang husband ko, and napaisip ako, sabi ko, saan ko kaya ilalagay yung damdamin ko, magagalit ba ako? Iiyak, magsiselos, manunugod. Sa totoo lang hindi ko alam kasi dinadama ko yung buong pagkatao ko mula ulo hanggang paa kung saan ko pwedeng ipwesto yung galit. Pero puno-puno ako ng lungkot at saka ng pait sa pagkawala ni Roville. Kaya hinayaan ko na lang, pinabayaan ko na lang. And hinanap ko na lang ang sarili ko sa kung saan lugar na mas nakikita at nararamdaman ko si Roville. At yun ay sa EPCALM, at sa mga charity works like Open Arms na sinalihan ko. Sa piling ng mga batang may malukhang karamdaman, doon ko nakita at nararamdaman si Robin. Nagkaroon ako ng pamilya with EPCALM, nagkaroon ako ng pamilya sa mga batang ito, and sila ang tumulong sa healing process ko na tanggapin na wala man sa feeling ko si Robin, pero nandun na siya sa mas, I would say, pinakamaganda, pinaka-safe na lugar. Nalimutan ko na isa rin akong may bahay. And hinayaan ko na lang na we drift apart. Kaya, when my husband passed away, August 6, 2020, tinatanong ko ang sarili ko kung saan ako nagkulang. Pero, hindi pala ako basta nanay lang. Asawa din pala ako. And kung mayroon man akong iniisip sa nangyari sa buhay ko, too late na para ngayon ko pa ma-realize na hindi lang pala ako basta nanay, isa din akong asawa. Pero looking back, ulit-ulitin ko man ang buhay ko, pipiliin ko pa rin ang maging isang nanay kasi nandun yung fulfillment ko. Yun yung greatest joy na na-experience ko sa buhay ko, ang maging isang ina. And bagamat hindi namin napanalunan ang laban namin sa leukemia, pero alam ko in my heart, lumisan si Robin, dala-dala niya yung pagmamahal at pag-aalaga ng isang ina. Nalimutan ko man yung ibang role ko sa buhay, pero dahil kay Robin ko in-offer yung buhay ko, mula nung nagkasakit siya, hanggang sa ngayon, active volunteer ako ng EPCALM, ng Open Arms, Circle of Hope, Stroke Home. Masaya ako na ito ang naging buhay ko, and patuloy lang, hindi man ganun kadali, hindi man ganun kaayos ang naging huling 10 taon ng buhay ko. Pero in my heart, grateful ako sa Diyos na He gifted me ng isang matapang na puso na kaya kong harapin lahat ng mga pagsubok na dumating sa buhay ko, na buo yung pag-asa, buo yung tiwala, nakakangiti, at patuloy lang na humihinga. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Mercy, for sharing your story. Maraming salamat. Blessings to you. Bless your daughter and her legacy, and bless you for offering your services and your support for others, and being a blessing to others. Maraming salamat. Our next mother will share how she raised her children after the passing of her husband while going through multiple health issues herself. Friends, here is Buenaflor Yason.
I'm Buenaflor Yason, 55 years of age, mother of 5, widow. Pumasok sa isip ko kung bakit ako, ano ba yung mga kasalanan na nagawa ko, kung bakit naging ganito ang health ko. Withdrawal from society. Lumayo ako, dumistansya ako sa mga kaibigan ko kasi parang ang naging tanong is, mas marami naman dyan, pero ba't ako? nahihiya ako sa itsura, yung hindi ko magawa yung mga dati kong ginagawa. Family, mga kapatid ko, syempre yung mga anak ko, sila yung very supportive. Hindi nila ako iniwan. Hindi nila ako pinabayaan. Kahit alam ko, nahihirapan na rin sila. Sobrang grateful po. Ganun pa rin, family. Sila yung hope ko. Kasi single parent na lang ako. After na nangyari sa father nila, syempre inisip ko lang, hindi tama na bitawan ko rin sila. Syempre nandyan din yung mga doctors na nagbigay ng hope para labanan ko, para lumaban ako. Acceptance. Kailangan buo sa puso at sa isip mo na matanggap ko ano yung sitwasyon ngayon. Kailangan labanan lahat kung ano pa man yung pumapasok sa isip para matanggap mo at maharap ang mundo ng bago. Faith. Kailangan kapit ng todo sa Panginoon. Lantong kahit nararamdaman mo parang gusto mo nang bumitaw, kailangan hindi eh. Kailangan strong ka. Kailangan solid yung faith mo na hindi ka pababayaan na mahal ka ng Diyos.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Buena Flor. Very powerful sharing once again. And I agree, acceptance, complete acceptance is so powerful for anybody to find a path to healing. So maraming salamat and continue to be a blessing to everybody and to your children as well. Meanwhile, our third mother in this batch is a medical doctor. She will tell the story of her journey as she coped after going through cancer all over again. Friends, please welcome Dr. Rachel Rosario.
Hello, my name is Rachel and I'm a doctor. I'm very glad to be here to share with you my experience about mental health and the concerns that I've had lately. Not so very recent, but recent enough to still not be over from the trauma. So I was diagnosed to have a life-threatening disease sometime in September 2017. And although I wasn't very shocked about this since I experienced being diagnosed with cancer when I was a teenager, I was still very scared and very afraid. And of course, I also had anxiety along with it. I guess you can say that it has affected me terribly during that time. My kids were still in the adolescent period. I had a young adult and I was very active in my work. And though you kind of think, why me again? You try to rationalize. Siguro because I'm a doctor, I tried to rationalize bakit nangyari siya, bakit eto na naman, although different kind of cancer, but still cancer nevertheless. And I really tried to help myself initially talaga deal with the diagnosis, no? There's a little shock that happens. Parang initially, ayaw mo talaga maniwala. Mag-iisip ka ng ibang mga explanations bago dumating yung biopsy. Baka, it was just a benign condition. Baka it's just part of a infectious process, ganun lang yung iisipin mo. Pero when that diagnosis is really given to you and you get that piece of paper, yung biopsy mo, syempre it will slowly sink in. So I sought the help, of course, of my colleagues. Syempre marami tayong kakilala. And the nice thing about being a doctor, kasi in your mind, you already have an idea of who you want to approach to help you on the physical side, no? Yung treatments mo. But yung problema kasi, ang treatment parang step 1, 2, 3, 4 lang yun eh. Kaya lang yung dealing with it and coping with it, hindi siya pwedeng 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes it's 1, 5, 3, and then back to 2, and then 5 again. So, you know, you go back and forth from your feelings of siguro initially being shocked, you deny it, you very typical, you try to bargain, you ask yourself why, and may konting pagsisisi, and you say, did I do it wrong? Did I miss out something? Then you accept it na naman, and you want to go ahead with with the treatments, you want to gather your strength, pero maraming doubts that come along the way. So I resorted to a lot of prayers. That's how I cope with everything. And alongside were my friends and my family. My husband was very supportive during that time, and I love the fact na he just let me talk and talk and talk sometimes. And then he would support decisions, and then basta para bang yung feeling mo he's just there. Walang mali, walang tama sa mga sinasabi mo, pero yung may nakikinig sa'yo. Siguro napaka laki ng sense of relief that you are being heard by somebody. My friends gathered around me. We prayed a lot. My family prayed a lot too. Mahirap lang talaga siyang siguro i-thread together everything when it's happening right there and then. But eventually, you think of going through this as a journey, that there's going to be a beginning, there's going to be a middle part, there's going to be an end, and hopefully the end will be glorious. And iniisip ko rin na while nangyayari yun, you know, during that journey, you can still stop and smell the roses. You can still enjoy things that you can enjoy, and you just have to deal with the things that are difficult to deal with. So I guess if I had any advice siguro, no, to anybody who undergoes something like this, it has to be na we have to learn to be kind to ourselves. We are all human beings, and life cannot be perfect all the time. And things get thrown at you sometimes when you are totally unprepared, maybe partially unprepared, but when it happens, the feelings and the emotions can be very raw and they can be very painful. But we can deal with it. I guess we can really deal with it. So, interaction with those we love, you know, having faith in God, praying, and loving. Yun lang siguro kasi, di ba? Love transcends everything. And if you feel it, then you will really say na kayang-kaya ko to.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, Doc Rachel. And if I can just add a comment to that, putting some context in some of what you shared, it's gratitude. It's being grateful, no matter how much challenges we may go through. As she said, stop and smell the roses. There's always, always something to be grateful for. And mind you, if you want to do a little bit of research, practice of gratitude daily has been proven to help happiness, productivity so much. It's now a scientific marvel. So do check it out. Try to practice gratitude every day, and you'll see beautiful things happen in your life. All right. Friends, we've just heard three mothers' personal journeys as they went through the loss of a loved one, confronting multiple health issues, and dealing with the recurring disease as well. Now, at this point, let's listen to our panelists who will present their insights and learnings from these mother stories. Our first panelist is from the MTC College of Medicine. Please welcome Dr. Robert Buenaventura.
Thank you very much, TJ, and good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Demere, the EPCAM, and the PCP for the invitation to participate in tonight's very worthwhile and amazing webinar. I'd also like to I'm also grateful, just like what TJ was saying. I'm grateful to the sharers that we have tonight, these wonderful women who have opened up their hearts to us and shared their thoughts. Okay, so in this cluster of discussion, we're talking about dealing with illness and loss, and that one of the things that we need to remember is that coping with illness, especially if it's critical illness, can be very difficult, can be very challenging. Okay? Simply because it has a lot of it because it awakens or stimulates in us a lot of unconscious anxieties and fears, and not just, for example, like if we're dealing with it directly, but also when we are helping loved ones deal with it, and that both situations can be both very difficult. So when we look at illness, it's not just like a biological aspect. So the other panelists, the other reactors have already emphasized the biopsychosocial and even spiritual aspects of mental health, and also not just of mental health, but also physical and medical illness. Okay? And that's why from our role as psychiatrists, we try to help our patients who are going through these kinds of situations from the psychosocial and even spiritual perspective. Okay. When they become ill, especially if the illness is debilitating, as I've mentioned, it awakens in us a lot of unconscious fears and anxieties. In fact, the critical stages of the emotional responses to illness and grief and loss of a loved one have been consolidated by the renowned Swiss psychiatrist, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, into 5 stages. And some of our speakers have already alluded to it. So we start first with denial, followed by anger, then there's bargaining, depression, and then finally acceptance. Okay. But interestingly, after Dr. Kubler-Ross has passed away, one of her co-authors, Dr. Kessler, pushed it a little bit further because they were working on this before Dr. Kessler passed away, before Dr. Kubler-Ross passed away. And they said that the next stage would be finding meaning. So that means after we've gone through the different stages of denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, there is a final stage in which we find meaning. And the reason I'm mentioning this because some of our speakers have already highlighted it. For example, like Dr. Rosario already mentioned that coping, sometimes you at stage 1, sometimes you go to stage 4, but then you go back to stage 3. So that's typically what happens as well. It's not an ordered sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That can happen. But for a lot of individuals, they can switch from one stage to the other. Okay. And she said that, for example, like she highlighted the fact that initially when she was diagnosed, that she asked herself, why me? Okay. And then so there was some sort of denial, there was some degree of bargaining. Okay. And this can be very difficult. One of the interesting things that she mentioned, because when we look at it in terms of the psychosocial and even spiritual health, so psychiatrists and psychologists and other counselors can help, but more importantly is the presence and support of our loved ones. Okay, she mentioned, for example, it was great to have her husband just there listening, for listening to her just talk and talk. No, it was great just knowing that he was there. In fact, when we look at psychological first aid, which is the first step, which is one of the techniques that we use in helping deal with individuals who have gone through traumatic situations, one of the first steps of psychological first aid is just reflective listening. So each one of us, when we're going through a very difficult time in our life, it's really very critical to have someone who will be able to listen to us. No, they don't even have to specifically give advice, but if they can just listen to us, let us open up, allow us to vent our frustrations, our angers, our feelings, anxieties, that could extremely be very helpful. Kay Mrs. Villas Tupas, one of the tragedies of our lives, what she already mentioned, when a parent loses a child. Okay, in fact, we have a specific term for this. This is called the natural disruption of the hierarchy or order of things. No? Because I mean, usually a child would survive his or her parent, but in this case, for a parent to lose a child really is one of the most painful events that one can go through, and she highlighted that. And so therefore, any parent who loses a child, he goes into grief. No, it's perfectly understandable. So our role therefore would be to be able to provide help and support to them and understand where they are coming from. And when I was talking about yung finding meaning, si Miss Villas Tupas really exemplified that stage, no? Because she said that after Roville's death, no, she joined EPCAM, she joined other social civic organizations, no? She went out there to help others in memory of her daughter. And that was great, no? So despite her loss, despite the great tragedy that she had gone through, she was able to find something meaningful out of it. So, and that's truly great. And her instinct as a mom, came to fore, and so this is great. And she also mentioned that one of the greatest joys that she ever had was to be a mother, and therefore, and that's true, and that's why it's really very difficult for a mother or any parent, no, whether father then, to lose a child. Kay Miss, Yason, mahirap din yung pinagdaanan niya kasi her husband passed away, had committed suicide, and then she had 5 kids to raise. But one of the beautiful things that she mentioned was that all her 5 children have been very supportive, na have been there all throughout this painful journey of supporting her and helping her. And just like with the other speakers, she mentioned that one of the best things that another great thing that helped her was yung faith niya, no. And we just like to emphasize now, although we're psychiatrists, doesn't mean that we don't deal with spirituality. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, one of our very special webinars was about spirituality and how we as psychiatrists can help our patients, additionally help our patients by looking into. Of course, not all of us, not all psychiatrists may be comfortable or even great at doing this, but there are other individuals, no, there are pastors, no, parish priests who can be tapped in. Okay. And so therefore what we would like to emphasize that when we want to help individuals who are going through loss, who are going through a challenging case of critical illness, no, marami iba't ibang aspeto. Nabanggit ni Miss Cooley Desma about yung medication. As psychiatrists, no, we do emphasize that medication is not just the sole remedy for anyone going through an emotional disturbance. No, we always emphasize that there are other and even more important treatment parameters, and so including psychotherapy, including spirituality, including, as I've mentioned, psychosocial support from friends, family, and other loved ones. So, and that's why any good therapist would be able to emphasize a more holistic approach to treatment and management. So therefore, ang magiging key takeaway ko lang naman dito, when we're confronted by such a huge challenge, there are a lot of options that we can look into, that we should not lose hope, that there are people who will be able to listen to us and help us. Okay. And again, I'd like to thank the EPCAM and the PCP for this opportunity, and that I'd like to end my sharing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doc Robert. Very comprehensive analysis and observations. Appreciate it. Maraming salamat. Maraming salamat. All right. Our next panelist comes from St. Luke's Medical Center. Let's now listen to Dr. Bernadette Manalo Arcena. Doc Bernadette.
Hi.
There you are.
Virtual hugs to everyone. I'm Dr. Babes Arcena, and I'm so happy to be here. TJ, I'm really saludo sa'yo. And to all the mommies out there, mom, sis, nanay, ina, napakagandang usapan ngayon, ano? And also Dr. Erlene Dimere, thank you so much. EPCALM and the PCP. Ang ganda ng ginagawa nyo. And thank you for helping us psychiatrists, no? For this. Kasi napakahirap na, napakakonti lang namin sa Pilipinas. And then, it's okay, no? It's okay na we will share this, this enthusiasm, this advocacy. Saludo din sa tatlong nanay na nag-share kanina. Palagi ko sinasabi walang ABCs sa pagiging ina. Wala yun no? And when there is an illness that happens, yung balanse ng buhay nasisira. There is a problem with what will I do next? So there goes the problems with an acceptance, no? So we have to go through into that journey for us to gain what? Acceptance. Journey siya So minsan we stop over, we cry, we do a lot of things, no? But then we just have to keep moving. For example, no, dun sa ating first, si Mercy, no, yung anak niya nga, no, nauna. Sabi niya nga why is it that my child has to die, no? And saan ako nagkulang? Napakahirap ng katanungan na yun for a mother who is doing her best for everything. And one good thing is that she said about anyhow, kailangan talaga tuloy lang ang buhay, no? And that we just have to breathe on with life. For Benaflor also, nakita din natin yung sabi niya na, ano bang kasalanan ko? Ano bang nagawa ko, no? So these things are really something we're in. You have to think about, bakit ako? Why, no? So all these things that questions in life may have no answers at the time. So as a psychiatrist, we also deal with what, no? We have to link the mind from that of the body. So what the mind thinks, the body feels. In situations wherein there is tragedy, like suicide, there is what? The pain. Either it will be the death of an anak, suicide in the family. These are things that hush-hush, di ba? Parang you're scared to open it up. Even, the stigma in saying na may sakit ang member of the family, nagkaroon ng depression, is something that you have to deal with. So, well, for the three mommies, and Dr. Rachel had said about, well, having another bout of cancer is something we're in. It's so scary na. Parang dumaan na siya doon and there we go again. Why is this happening again? But at the end of the journey, nakita niya that, okay, life goes on as it is. As an advocate, I would like to also give hope to our mothers out there or those who have been suffering from depression, that it's okay at times to not be okay, meaning to say that you will be having those waves of ups and downs. And the most important thing here is hindi ka nag-iisa. And you will not be left behind because your family is there. There's always some form of happiness that you can see. And importante lang din siguro dito is, aside from seeking treatment, and we have to also get the importance of the presence of the family members. See the essence of life. You can bend down, you can be broken, but what? There's still hope. How? Because at the end of everything else, you will realize that being a mom is a gift, no? Gift not only as time goes by, but a gift from somebody up there loving us. So love your journey, and being a mom is something that you have to be proud of. And saludo ako sa inyong lahat. And thank you so much.
Doc Babes, thank you so much. Good to see you again. It's been a while. Maraming salamat.
See you again.
Thank you for being here. Salamat po. All right. Now, as you mentioned earlier, you may send your questions for our panelists via the Zoom chat box if you're in the Zoom. You can also chat in the Facebook chat. We're monitoring it too, so we can see your questions there if you want to put your questions there. Our panelists will be coming back at the end of the program to answer your questions as well. Now, it's time for another moment of inspiration. Let's listen to a song that is dedicated to the frontliners of Hopeline Philippines. That's a 24/7 crisis hotline of the Mind Strong NGF, or the Natasha Goldburn Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, here's an acoustic rendition of his own original composition from Stephen Koo.
Hi, I'm Stephen Koo, and it's an honor for me to be a part of this event, to be among other OPM greats. I recently released my first single under Warner Music Philippines. It's a song called Kapit Lang, and I wrote it with my good friend Top. It's a song that talks about being there, reaching out, and hope. And speaking of hope, big shout out to the Hopeline frontliners. Thank you. Here's the acoustic version of that song, and I'm playing it for the first time, so I hope you like it. Parang kay dilim ng araw-araw, di ka makangiti ng totoo. Nagtatago sa'yo ang kasiyahan, wala na bang saysayang buhay mo? Pwede pa tayong mag-usap muna, huwag mong isiping ika'y nag-iisa. Asahan mong ikaw ay sasamahan, kahit ano pa yan walang iwanan. Kaya't kapit lang, kapit lang, kapit lang, kapit lang. Huwag kang bibitaw, huwag ka namang lumisan, kaibigan. Ako'y nandito lang, kapit lang, kapit lang. Baka naman di mo lang naiisip na mahalaga ka sa mundong ito. Ika'y nagbibigay ng kasiyahan, karami nang nagmamahal sa'yo. Kaya't kapit lang, kapit lang, kapit lang, kapit lang. Huwag kang bibitaw, huwag ka namang lumisan, kaibigan. Ako'y nandito lang, kapit lang. Sa bawat dilim ay may liwanag, bawat pagsubok may pag-asa. Asahan mong di ka mag-iisa. Kapit lang, kapit lang, kapit lang, kapit lang. Di tayo bibitaw, hindi ka iwanan, kaibigan. Ako'y nandito lang, kapit lang, kapit lang. Kapit lang. Thank you.
All right. Amazing, amazing. Stephen, my old friend, thank you so much, man. Proud to see your evolution. Galing, galing. Beautiful song. Keep it up. All right. What a wonderful song. And we all really need to hang on, kapit lang, and rely on one another as we face life's many challenges with hope. EPCOM and PCP have partnered to bring their mental health advocacy forward. And let's now see how EPCOM and PCP are doing this together as we watch this short video.
The COVID 19 pandemic has undoubtedly triggered various medical, social, and psychosomatic burdens on society, especially on those with chronic diseases. Responding to this problem, the Philippine College of Physicians and the EPCAM Adult Leukemia Foundation of the Philippines are taking on the task of advocating public awareness on mental health and well-being with the hope of providing practical and workable solutions to other related challenges today. People living with chronic physical conditions such as cancer and heart disease often experience emotional stress and recurrent symptoms or prolonged pain. These can cause symptoms of anxiety and depression, which affect the quality of life and productiveness. Although depression and other mental health challenges are common, these have escalated because of the current pandemic. Among those seriously affected are people who have chronic illnesses or pre-existing mental health challenges. Mental health is the banner advocacy of the PCP, a 60-year-old organization of more than 9,000 internists in the country. PCP's 17 component and affiliate societies, as well as 30 chapters nationwide, are united to raise the country's mental health literacy, undertaken through awareness campaigns and webinars. Presently headed by Dr. Mario Panaligan and supported by its able board of trustees, PCP has opened its doors to partnerships with like-minded organizations to address its goals. In like manner, EPCAM, the first and only foundation of its kind in the Philippines that reaches out to adult leukemia patients and their families, recognizes that grief and suffering could lead to anxiety and depression, even as they journey to wholeness. Since 2013, EPCAM has organized grief management conferences with a view to achieve a better understanding of grief. In 2018, EPCAM brought mental health first aid to the Philippines to help create communities of hope and healing toward reducing the mental health stigma. Since then, EPCAM has served almost 400 patients and their families. EPCAM continues to undertake its mission as a Christ-centered and family-oriented organization. It stands firmly on God as the hope, the healer, and the provider, as shown through its spiritual care, medical care, and financial service arms. Founded by Dr. Erlene Cabanag-Timere, EPCAM has been in operation for the past 15 years. Thus imbued with a common advocacy to take care of the sick, to promote physical and mental health and well-being, and consistent with the priorities of the World Health Organization and the Department of Health of the Philippines, PCP and EPCAM joined hands to address the looming threat of mental health challenges on society, especially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Hope for mental health toward creating communities of hope and recovery.
All right, friends, we know EPCAM provides personalized services for its patients, their families, through its spiritual care, medical, and financial services arms. Thus, they are humbly appealing for your help from your kind hearts to help the sick brethren as they journey toward healing and wholeness. Every little bit can count. Every little centavo can help. From the heart, it'll go a long, long way indeed. You can, if you wish to, you may course your donations through the EPCAM bank accounts flash on the screens right there. And EPCOM extends their sincerest thanks to all of you for your presence today and for those of you who want to support as well. Thank you very much. With the committed efforts and resources, EPCOM can effectively provide appropriate services for patients as well as their families who are also journeying with them. So maraming salamat for your support for EPCOM. Now, before we proceed with the last group of mothers' stories, let us listen once again to another song of hope. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Pops Fernandez.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world.
Thank you once again for another beautiful song from Pops Fernandez. Thank you for the inspiration. Now, losing a loved one is never easy. Our next mother will share her pain of losing her daughter to suicide. This experience brought her to establish a foundation, which has helped others in similar circumstances. Her organization now runs Hopeline Philippines, a 24/7 suicide prevention and crisis intervention hotline. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jeannie Goldberg.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Goldborn. I was formerly known as a fashion designer, and I did that for 47 years. And as of now, I still have Silk Cocoon, which I design, I weave silk fabrics. But today, somebody described my work as being a life weaver. I would like to think that what he said about my job today as an advocate of mental health, as the founder of Natasha Goldborn Foundation, which we rebranded last year as NGF Mindstrong. As that founder and president, I would like to say that I wish I could, and I hope to do so, weave lives. So weaving lives into a net, into a safety net, where we can protect and we can save harm towards the youth, self-harm, harm coming from others, violence. We hope we can do that and preserve the mental health and the mental well-being of the youth. So I was asked to talk about what it was to lose a child. Losing a child through suicide, not from health reasons, a death not caused by any illness, but an invisible illness called depression. Losing a child to suicide is indeed the most painful any mother could experience, because it spells failure, it spells rejection, it spells abandonment, and lastly, it spells a terrific irresponsibility of a parent not to be able to detect the signs of depression. And it is because of this that I have been, for the past 14 years, pushing the knowledge of what is depression, how can we beat and prevent depression. And actually, my message is for the other mothers that are listening today. Losing a child to depression can mean either the mother wasn't that close to her child to be able to see the telltale signs. And in that aspect, yes, I felt I was an irresponsible mother. I suffered terrific failure for feeling irresponsible. I felt so stupid because I'm a graduate. I mastered in psychology. And I'm telling you, nobody ever talked about suicide when I was 18, 19, 20, mastering psychology in St. Paul. The feeling of abandonment, the feeling of rejection, the feeling of not being loved and loved back was the most painful thing. Next to feeling the absence that I would not hear her voice, I would not see her, and when is the afterlife where I could meet Natasha again. All these feelings were my immediate feelings, but I must confess to you, I was angry. I was angry at her, and 3 days after her demise, I was angry with the society, terribly angry with society, because they did not understand suicide it became a rumor. There were so many speculations on how she took her life. It was terribly painful for me. In spite of that, I just had to believe and have faith in God. I asked the Lord to show me a sign that Natasha was with him. 3 dolphins, she would be in hell. Take me instead, Lord. 5 dolphins, she would be in purgatory. I negotiated to take me instead. 10 dolphins, she would be in heaven. I saw 128 dolphins on the 67th day after her death in Puerto Galera. Because of this, I knelt down in the banca and I said, I know then you exist, Lord. I will serve you until my last death, my last dying day. And it is with this passion that I bring to my foundation. And it is also the knowledge that there are so many ways to prevent depression beyond psychotic drugs, beyond the work of psychiatrists. Yes, parents can embrace, accept the children with their weaknesses without judgment. Friends, colleagues in the corporate world, yes, we accept each other with no judgment, but with compassion, understanding, and love. Therefore, 9 years ago, with the help of Tao Foundation, we opened Hope Line, wherein we train. We are very proud to say that the training program of our responders is not only 5 intensive days, but it takes us 6 months. We train for 6 months. Responders that can respond to the phone call. We have calls from different government agencies. We're 24-hour service there. And we have 7 physicians, psychiatrists, doctors of psychology that help those with high risk. How did I survive my tragedy? With the help of a nun who after 10 months asked me, are you ready to give up suffering and being in pain? Are you ready to give up your sadness? And a priest who told me there is a beautiful afterlife. From tragedy, you will find a new chapter in your life. And that new chapter is joy. I come with gratitude to all the sponsors who have helped Natasha Goldborn Foundation. I come with full gratitude. Thank you for supporting our foundation, NGF Mind Strong. Thank you. God bless.
A very, very, very big thank you to, I'd like to call her Tita Jeannie Goldberg. She's a friend of my mom's. I've known her for quite some time. And I'm not just saying this for tonight's participation, but I wouldn't be here if not for Tita Jeannie because of one serendipitous night that she was a guest on an ANC program that I was not supposed to host. Last minute, I was the host to find out I was going to interview her and talk about depression and suicide prevention. And lo and behold, I ended up opening up about my story of depression and anxiety on national television. And after that, she pushed me to be an advocate. She convinced me to talk about my experience in her events, and it just moved from there. And then even she has been bugging me and begging me to write a book about my experience. And I thought about it for many years, and eventually that book idea became the video that I produced 2 years ago. For those of you who are joining us late, you can watch if you're curious about what I'm talking about. Just search on YouTube or on Facebook, "You Will Be All Right," TJ Manotok, and you see the video that was hugely inspired by Tita Jeannie Goldburn and the work of the Natasha Goldburn Foundation. Thank you so much for all your amazing work and for saving countless of lives. Maraming salamat. All right, moving on. Despite her anguish over losing her young daughter to suicide, her experience brought this mother to muster her inner strength. Moving forward, she thought of other families going through similar circumstances, which led to the founding of the Julia Buen Camino Project, a mental health advocacy support group. Friends, let's listen to Charmaine Centenera Buen Camino.
Hello, I am Charmaine Centenera Buen Camino. I am an actor and I currently appear as Cardo's mother-in-law in FPJ's Ang Provinciano on television and other digital channels. I am also married to fellow actor Noni Buen Camino, and we have been blessed with 4 children and 1 grandchild. Unfortunately, we lost our youngest daughter to depression at the age of 15, and that was 5 years ago. Julia, that's her name, she left behind written works as well as visual renditions that give us access to her illness, and that's why we have founded the Julia Buen Camino Project. It is a non-profit, informal group of friends and fellow artists who come together to put up events, performances, exhibits, and workshops to raise awareness on mental health issues as well as to offer hope by sharing our stories and by addressing the stigma of mental illness. We also advocate the arts as a means to improve our mental resilience. Now, why mental resilience? Our present living conditions isolate us from each other. Technology and social media keeps us connected, but not at an authentic, deep level. And even before the onset of COVID-19, we have already been suffering a high level of depression and anxiety in our communities. The suicide has gone up, and this has been happening not just in our country, but globally. The current pandemic has, of course, intensified the situation. A lot of people have lost their jobs. I myself have lost financial security in my work as a professional actor, and we have been dipping into our savings. And of course, this has brought me sleepless nights and worries. When the quarantine first started, I took advantage of the time to finish projects. Sabi ko, wow, ang dami kong oras, ang saya. But now it has changed because the pandemic has dragged on. It will probably drag on until the next year, and I am not that positive about our future anymore. So what have I been doing to manage my mental health challenges? I pray. My faith has always saved me from myself. And I garden. There is something so fulfilling about eating the food that we grow. And I practice Qigong because it's hard for me to meditate. So standing meditation with simple breathing movements is best for me. And I make sure I always have something to do. I even took up online classes to explore other interests like design and painting, and it is always exciting to immerse oneself in new experiences and to be open to possibilities of being someone else or something else. But what really helped me was when I started looking for ways to help others by giving free online workshops and art journaling workshops and journaling workshops. I believe that we have to be proactive in our mental self-care, and it should be part of our lifestyle. And there's so many things that we can do. We can meditate, we can do mindful practices, yoga. Now, I have not sought professional help because I am not mentally sick. My anxiety and sadness over the pandemic is normal. It comes and goes. and it does not intensify, and it doesn't stay on a continuous stretch of 2 weeks, which is the length of time that should signal anyone to go for consultations with a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Right now, it is my family who keeps me grounded because I live with them. And it is my fellow mental health advocates who give me a lot of hope. They are friends from theater and from the film industry who are very vocal about their mental health struggles and disorders, and they bravely share their stories and extend help to our projects. My advice to those facing the same challenges that we are all facing, whether they are healthy or not, when you feel yourself sliding down, don't do something for yourself, but instead do something for someone else. Also, I leave you with Julia's last advice, which she left on her suicide note on a public blog. Be kind to yourselves.
Thank you so much, Shemaine. Amazing, amazing resilience and love for humanity. I've met Shemaine a few years ago. We did a project together and couldn't be any more blessed with her family, how they've turned their pain into a blessing for others. And indeed, love yourself, take care of yourself. And the more you help others, the more you'll be blessed. And I truly believe in that. Thank you so much. All right, we'll now proceed with the insights and learning points from the panelists. Friends, let's bring back Dr. Salvador Benjamin Vista. Doc?
Hello again, everyone. This segment actually kind of tears my heart out from my chest because in my long years of doing clinics, there is nothing more painful than losing a parent or a mom, losing a child. And losing a child to suicide is probably, as Ma'am Jean Goldborn said, multiplies it manyfold. So I will not even begin to discuss that. What jumps out at me from the sharing of these two wonderful mothers is again the process, the complicated process of going through the stages of grief. And it was mentioned by Dr. Buenaventura earlier that perhaps it's not just shock and denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. And of course, he added what Kessler added, and it was finding a new meaning after that loss. I would venture, my dear friends, to add an even one more step, because that is what I think I learned from these two wonderful women tonight. And that is not only finding a new meaning, but also defining the responsibility that comes with that new meaning. And so I would venture to add that to the list of coping with grief. Because as Jean said, the pain is really too much to take and we have no control over it. The suffering, however, that is under our control. And we can choose not to suffer from the pain. And life after grief is not the same as before. There are symbols of that in in many faiths of when you lose something that you love, you tear your clothes, and the symbolism there is after you tear your clothes, that symbolizes all the anger of the loss, but you kind of sew the torn pieces back together, and you don't hide the torn pieces. You have them there for everybody to see. Because in such a situation, the common thing is you say, get over it. But getting over it means we actually didn't grow from the experience. It would mean that our loved one's death made no difference in our life. And I have heard that from these two wonderful ladies tonight. And it is probably summarized in a word, altruism. Now, we talked about gratitude earlier, and of course they mentioned that, but altruism of looking outwards now and having a higher purpose and a great responsibility now to find that higher purpose. Because only through the significant loss of our loved ones do we truly begin to live. Because when their eyes closed, our eyes open. Thank you very much.
Doc, thank you very much once again. Powerful reflections there that will really help, emphasize what you've learned from the Jeannie, from Shemaine, and their experiences. It's one cannot begin to fathom what a mother went through losing a child, but they have absolutely found a way, as you said, to turn that pain into a new purpose and responsibility, and giving that structure. So beautiful. Thank you so much, Doc. Maraming salamat. Now we welcome Dr. Erlinda Susana Cuisha Cruz from the Medical City to give her insights as well.
Hi, I can't turn on my video. Okay, there you go. Right, so good evening. No, it's already 9 o'clock, and thank you for all the participants this evening for staying on. It truly, the stories are really all inspiring, and I really salute the two mothers who just shared their advocacy on the prevention of suicide. Which comes to my point, this evening, to my sharing this evening. When Dr. Erling asked me to talk and share, by the way, thank you very much, EPCALM and PCP for the invitation. I am not a psychiatrist, but an adolescent medicine specialist. And I work with teenagers. That's just my job. And therefore, I was asking, ano bang role ko dito? Puro psychiatrists ang guests, no? So what will share, that that can probably add, to the richness of the topic. Well, I guess my topic is to talk about the adolescent, the teenager. If you notice, the most of when all the mothers shared, na yung mga children nila is developing mental health issues, it is usually at the adolescent age group. Bakit nga ba? Why is it that this all happens when they're teenagers? Well, first of all, adolescents, they're undergoing tremendous changes. Physically, they undergo puberty. I mean, you can take time and think of your own puberty and how that was. That must be a disaster for everyone. So imagine that. You're undergoing changes physically, so therefore you are so prone to what your friends are saying, your body image. This is a very big issue. And at the same time, no, you're undergoing cognitive changes. No, the teen brain. No, they found out. No, they're very much at risk. They're high risk for mental health concerns. This is because the developing brain, there is in the developing brain, there's a mismatch between the early development of that part of the brain called the limbic system, which is in charge of emotionality. They're very emotional, okay? And the late development, which happens around late 20s, of the prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of control. No, it's in charge of logical thinking, of abstract thinking. Okay, so consequences that will happen when you do some things. No? And therefore, this area of the brain that is very emotional makes it. They're also highly stimulated by dopamine, which is when you realize during adolescence, sobra silang extremes of emotions. So they're extremely happy, okay, when there's dopamine stimulation, but they become extremely sad, when it wears out. So when they become sad, they are really, really sad, right? So that's about the brain of the adolescent. But psychosocially also, this is the time that they're just learning how to maneuver themselves into the society, trying to master the supposedly independence that they're getting, finding their own identity, knowing understanding their own sexuality. And also, to top that, they have to choose a career, a vocation. What will I take in college? What will I be? What will be my career? Give me financial stability. That is a very big concern. And this can really be a challenge for them and the families. And sometimes it comes out as rebelliousness. Well, not really in a bad way all the time, but it can be internally or externally. And mind you, when they become rebellious, they are really more hurt, Of course, we are hurt ourselves also if they show rebelliousness, but they are also hurt because they don't want to do that. But they have to do it. They have to pass that because they are teenagers and they have to develop their independence. Okay, so putting that into context, that teenagers, meron silang normal what we call blues, yung malungkot, Minsan teenagers will always say, depressed ako, But they really understand the word depressed, Maybe not, And for these teenagers, these are normal, They have these ups and downs in their emotions. But it is now for us to know, when is this blues already something that I may need to refer or monitor? Maybe it's already something else. Okay, it's already depression. Okay. So I guess that's my point here. First is that we have, as parents, we must be aware of the risk factors that may push our adolescents to mental health problems. And what is that? Number one, So di ba sabi nga po kanina ni Mrs. Magsino kanina, we have to educate ourselves as parents. And you attending these conferences and this webinar is a testament to that you want to understand and you want to be educated. Studies have shown that parental depression is a highly predictive factor of depression also in your children and in the adolescent. So if you know that you have that, then think about it as a risk factor. Another is if there's other problems like anxiety, they have ADHD, they have chronic problems, chronic disorders, or they have substance use, they have gender issues. Also, the temperament of your child, they're very much introvert. They have negative cognitions. Bata pa lang, alam mo na yan, yung parati silang do you know GLUM? I don't know if this is the generation who knows GLUM. Parang, it's always the end of the world, There are children, bata pa sila, ganun na yung yung kanilang cognition, their temperament. And of course, family conflict. So this highly associated with developing at risk. They are at risk for depression, not necessarily depression right away. Okay. Also, right now, we see our teenagers. A lot of them are sleep deprived. Okay. Sleep, not being able to sleep, is very much associated with depression because of the chemicals in the brain that are not replaced, that are not there. Right? So another point that I want to share is the red flags. As mentioned kanina by our two mothers that shared, it's like they're the last person to know. And I think that's very important for us to realize that all these things, the parang very sad, low levels of frustrations, they snap right away and all that. Well, this can be normal adolescent acts, no? Okay lang yan, nag-iinarte yung mga anak ko, mga teenager. But we have to, as mentioned by Charmaine, if this sadness, it's already 2 weeks and it already interferes with daily activity. Like for example, they withdraw, social withdrawal, right? Or they don't want to talk to you anymore. The things that make them happy before does not anymore make them happy. Then these are red flags. Then you have to go and seek help. Okay? All right? And so how do we pick up these red flags? As mentioned by, I think it was Miss Koo who mentioned kanina, that you have to have a strong relationship with your children. Because in adolescence, these relationships will all be challenged. Okay? That is part of them growing up. They will have to challenge their authority, right? For them to establish their independence. And you have to keep those lines of communication open. And of course, how do you do that if you do not have a relationship in the first place? Therefore, these signs, they're very subtle. They're all very subtle. And therefore, if you don't have that relationship, it will be very difficult for you to pick it up. Okay? And my last point is that suicide acts or thoughts, they can be seen as one's attempt to solve the problem. Okay? And our goal as parents is that we don't want it to reach that point that our adolescents feel that there is no other solution but to end their lives. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cruz. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for your perspective, from your expertise. Refreshing to see it from a different appreciation about the adolescence and their development, of course, and how to differentiate it. Very helpful for so many parents. All right, friends, Christmas is in the air. I don't have a Christmas tree here yet. Maybe this will suffice for now. Put some Christmas lights. But there was a guy earlier who we saw sing, and he had a Christmas tree behind him. So I think he's ready because it's the most wonderful time of the year. And of course, we will celebrate it with this song of hope amidst the pandemic. Let's all wish for Christmas without fear. Here's an original song, a new song he composed with his best friend and songwriter, Louis Ocampo. Once again, here's Martin Rivera.
To my EPCALM family, of course, Dr. Demire, my dear Erlyn, thank you so much for having me on this very important day. I have a Christmas wish for all of you, during these times of uncertainty with the pandemic still hovering all over us. This is really not good for anyone's mental state, but it's a decision, and I have decided to stay positive. So I've written a new song with Mr. Louis Ocampo and his beautiful music. My way of saying Merry Christmas to all during this new normal, this new Christmas. My Christmas wish for you is a brand new Christmas, a Christmas without fear. God bless you all. A brand new Christmas, a brand new day. I stand beside you, but you seem so far away. A brand new normal Christmas, a Christmas without fear. A brand new Christmas, an old Christmas tree. I've got my family sharing one Christmas Eve in different countries, so far apart. It's complicated. Thank God we made it. A happy Christmas through unhappy days. You can't stop Christmas no matter what people say. Merry Christmas, a better new year, a brand new Christmas, a Christmas without fear. Each day and every day, been through it all together. My hope, my every prayer is living, loving, giving, healing, holding each other. A happy Christmas through unhappy days. You can't stop Christmas no matter what people say. Merry Christmas, a better new year, a brand new Christmas, a Christmas without fear. You can't stop Christmas no matter what people say. Merry Christmas, a better new year, a brand new Christmas, a Christmas without fear. Merry Christmas, everyone, and God bless you all.
Martin, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you and your family. November, what day is it today? November 14. Konti na lang. Christmas na naman. So it's really in the air. And of course, we're praying for our kababayans who are affected by all the typhoons. And we hope that everybody finds a generosity in their hearts to help and uplift their conditions as soon as we can, so that they can at least be with their families in a safe condition for the coming Christmas season. Okay, now, as we mentioned earlier, we promised we will be hearing your questions, and we'll be bringing back our panelists to answer some of the questions. We'll try to get as much of the questions in, and I'm not sure if we can get everybody to answer, but I guess we'll, whoever wants to take the question, just speak up and give your thoughts. So welcome back, Dr. Jasmine Vergara of the World Health Organization, Dr. Benjamin Vista of the UP College of Medicine and Asian Hospital and Medical Center, as well as Dr. Robert Benaventura, MTC College of Medicine and UERM, Dr. Babes Manalo of the St. Luke's Medical Center, and Dr. Erlinda Susana Cuisha Cruz of the Medical City. Thank you to all our amazing doctors who are with us this evening. Okay, I will jump with the first question that was posed, I think, during one of the earlier part of the Facebook Live. Hello? Hello. Hi, I hear a child. That's cute. All right. Perfect timing, because this is about children specifically. What can schools do to help their students and teachers cope with mental health issues? How do you think schools can educate about the issue? And I'll add a twist to that. Should and can schools be aware of the kind of stress they put on kids depending on the curriculum, homework, and the demands, all that? So how does schools play a role in this whole thing? Anybody?
Sige, TJ, this is Rob Bong Bonaventura. Because Although I teach in medical schools, one of the approaches that we've done, especially at the during the entire pandemic and when the schools opened, was to provide them with uh, mga parang extracurricular activities, because we need to emphasize to them the importance of mental health and mental health breaks, and dealing with being able to deal with stress. So schools have a great responsibility in terms of helping disseminate this as well. No, so we've done it via the students, via the administration staff, and so hopefully they'll be like ambassadors as well. Okay. But I'm talking, of course, primarily from, let's say, college level, uh, uh, postgrad level, kasi mga medical students ang pinag-uusapan natin. But I guess Dr. Aquisha Cruz would be in a better position for this because she deals with adolescents as well.
And Dr. Aquisha, you have been
sorry about that.
volunteered.
It's okay.
Go.
Okay. Of course, I'm also a pediatrician, no? And this is actually our role also. No, we work with schools, no, in especially the clinics. No, we try to capacitate them in screening. No, so very important for pediatricians and adolescent medicine specialists to screen. We need to ask that question, no, about mental health, because if we do not ask those questions like how are you feeling, or do you have such thoughts, or how sad are you, and all that, if we don't ask those questions, especially in doing the psychosocial issue, they will not volunteer, a lot of times. So we do lectures, we tell teachers and school physicians, the school nurses, to ask that question, to screen for it, and then we give them also the numbers, to call if they are picked up to be having such mental health problems.
Thank you. If I may add, I'll stretch this discussion a bit. This has been one of my focuses as well in my advocacy, mental health, and that's a great point, Doctor, about helping them when there's already telltale signs of stresses, anxieties, and whatever. But on the other end, can schools address the prevention? And I ask this because schools are a stressor, depending on the compounded situation for each and every student with family relations, whatever. And I also pose this because I've given, and when I give talks and I have shared this, and I make people have actually, it's been thought provoking for a lot of educators too. 20 years ago, when I was still in school, just as a comparison, our class time was about 8:30 to about 2:30. This is Ateneo High School, and I was one of the few students, literally like 4 out of the 50 in our classroom, who needed a tutor because I could barely survive Ateneo, right? In about 7 years ago, I did a news story in TV Patrol about the fascinating prevalence of tutorial services. Just look at Katipunan. Back then, it used to be food joints. Now, half of it is tutorial services, right? So I asked the two big brands, MSI and Ahead, what's their estimate of private schools catering to tutorial services now? And I almost fell off my chair when I heard it, because my time, 20 years ago, 4 out of 50 was the ratio, less than 10%. They said it's 75% of private school populations, from the Ateneos, the Xaviers, the ICAS, the Povedas. 75% of the school population cater to tutorial services of an additional hour, 2 hours a day. And their school days are now longer. My time, 8:30 to 2:30. Now they're like 7:30 to 3:30. Give them a bit of a break, then they go to tutor for 2 more hours. The question I pose to you, experts, is there such a thing as too much academic stress on a child? And I always ask this to educators, do schools actually gauge this? Because I mean, for the adults, it's never changed. Work is 9 to 5. Diba? 8 hours. Yun ang kaya eh. Pag beyond that, babayaran mo overtime kasi stress. Diba? I don't know. I mean, I honestly don't know the answer. Perhaps it could have been a reason. Right? Doc Cruz, yes.
That is a very important point, no? So I think DepEd should really look into that, no? The academic load is really much, no? And what I usually tell the parents, no, because parents would come to me and ask me, Doc, what do I do? Meron bang pampatalino? Meron bang pampano para yung anak ko ay tumaas ang grades? Sometimes you have to allow some failures, no, for our teenagers and our children. If the school is not parang dapat may matching, no? Kasi sometimes as parents also we expect too much that dapat dito ka. Kasi children, if they like their school, and that is what I usually ask my patients, no, do you like to stay in your school? And if they say yes, so what are you gonna do about it? And usually they know, no, that I will study more. I will cut down on social media more because I want my school. But the point is sometimes they actually don't like their school. They don't want to stay there. That's why they're sabotaging themselves. So I think these are very important to talk about also, no? The DepEd also and the matching also of the school. Maybe that's not the school for you, no? All right.
It might be a challenge on the private school kasi Doc, diba, DepEd is public school, and that we're thankful we've actually stretched already K to 12, so it adds 2 more years to stretch the curriculum, so it's helpful. But yeah, maybe it is a challenge to the private schools to think about it. And honestly, I've given talks to private schools, and there was one school I was giving a talk to. They wanted a meeting prior with their guidance counselors and some educators, and I asked that question again, and some of the teachers are crying because they were realizing, they were in tears. They realized that, wow, they never put it in that perspective. Sabi ko kasi pag binilang ko yun, you're making the child work 10 hours a day. 7:30 plus the 2 hours of tutorial services. And then they get home, they're dead tired. And then the stresses of family and all this. So it's a really interesting component that I think, I don't know if there's such a thing as a private school organization. Maybe they have an association. Or maybe
yes, yes, there is.
Something they need to look at, maybe engage with you guys, the experts, about to gauge kaya ba ng bata to. But I agree, Doc, what you said, no? The parents should be open to look at what schools fit for them. I know so many of my co-alumni who used to go Ateneo. Dati tradition, pag Ateneo ka, Ateneo anak mo, Ateneo apo mo. Now they're sending their kids to non-traditional schools because they see the fit better. No? So yeah, it's an interesting conversations. Thank you. Thanks for chiming in. Anybody else want to talk about schools?
Yep. Just to add on, because I spent a great deal of time working and living in Australia, and although because of the system there is different, so there's more public school rather than private school. But the thing is, the approach is different because it seems that ang emphasis in Asian countries is more on intelligence, but in IQ na tinatawag. But in other countries, the focus is more EQ. No?
Agree.
So the focus, so that sabi mo nga, like in your case, no, TJ, na by 2:30 off ka na. So anong mangyayari dito sa Pilipinas? Tutor ang punta ng bata. Pero sa ibang bansa, like in Australia, sports and other extracurricular activities that's fun for them. Okay. Yeah. So ang emphasis nun is building social relationships or networking. Pero sa atin, very secular pa rin yung bata, very internal, intrapersonal pa rin yung approach. So nangyayari, yung capacity ng bata to be able to have more fun actually becomes limited. And I'm not sure whether overhauling our educational system would be the single solution, because we need to think of other factors as well. Kasi baka yung expectations sa school na ganito kasi kailangan ng number of subjects para makapasa yung bata. I mean, look at college, di ba? There was a time nung kami may Rizal, may land reform and taxation, yung mga ganon. Kailangan ba to? So, tignan din natin yun because it's not just the schools probably who need to look into this. But as you mentioned, DepEd, if there's an organization for private schools, baka makatulong din sila.
Yeah. Just one last bit, Dr. Cruz mentioned, sometimes it's okay to fail, di ba? You said that's beautiful. And that, honestly, for me, that was my anxieties. When I said, I just want to learn. I didn't focus on grades anymore. After college, I said, learn.
Kaya katitingnan mo doon sa ibang schools, sabihin na natin yung schools abroad, they're not focused on grades.
Yes. Yeah.
No, they're focused on accomplishment of tasks rather
Right.
than numerics. No, kaya pag if you're not focused on numerics, if you don't reach 75, kasi dito konsepto natin, pag hindi ka naka 75, bagsak ka, no? Doon hindi tasks ang ang tinitingnan nila. Like for example, if you're able to, like if you're like a young kid, na you're able to put blocks on top of each other, or if you're a high school student, you can perform dissection of a frog, di ba? So it's yun ang siguro yun ang magandang tingnan din natin, ano. So that the child, kasi tas iba-iba, bawat isa sa atin iba-iba ang pacing natin. Some will learn faster, some will learn not as fast as others. So
Yep.
but if we are able to achieve a specific tasks that assigned to us, then well and good. And we can translate that to the workplace right now. Kasi
Yeah.
marami ding mga empleyado na nade-depress because yung expectations sa kanila napakalaki. So ang advice ko nga usually do sa mga workplace situation is that, instead of specific numbers, look at it in terms of specific tasks, okay? So that if you're able to achieve this, then, at the end of the day, then baka mas magiging, kasi di ba a lot of people are working from home, no?
Yeah.
So, yun ang nagiging suggestion sa kanila.
Yep. Excellent. Thank you. We can go on and on this, but we have other questions.
Yeah,
Thank-
that's true.
It's a can of worms, but I agree. I mean, just to end it point, my kids go to Montessori, and I know it's a little expensive, but it's an investment because that's their learning style, more on tasks and at their own pace. So something to consider for parents. Okay, here's an interesting question: how can an anxious parent support an anxious child? Wow. So self-care. I'm just thinking of, alam mo yung sa aeroplano when they say put on your life vest first before the child. I don't know. Is that the same logic there? Any doctors want to chime in?
Jay, well, the parent first should deal with herself
Yeah.
before she could deal with her child. And alam mo, minsan kung nakikita ng anak na naa-anxious ang mother, nagkakaroon na rin siya ng, parang nagmi-mirroring siya, no?
Ads, yeah.
Nakikita niyo doon sa mother niya. So, at times, pag nakikita natin yung mga, like, for example, na may mga kids na nagpupunta sa atin, tinitingnan ko muna yung nanay eh.
You
Or yung
do.
parents. Yeah, I do.
Galing.
Kasi
Yeah.
doon ko nakikita kung ano ba ang nangyayari sa bata. So,
Right.
I would look at the parents first.
Mhm.
Pero pag teenager kasi, we usually deal with the teenager first before the parents, no?
Yeah.
But then, nakikita ko kasi minsan pag younger yung child, no? Though we're not child psychiatrists, no? But nakikita ko, nami-mirroring ng child yung kanilang mother or father. So, pag ganon, better muna naunahin ng parent ang kanilang sarili. And then the child would just, would also feel relaxed and feel okay.
Great point. Anybody else want to chime in on that question? How can an anxious parent support an anxious child? Okay. We'll move. Okay, no problem. We have other questions as well that we want to get some answers. Okay. Having problems with mental health may not only stem from personal and family issues, but is there data about social and current events, the pandemic, addiction to social media, all that? How do they all affect mental health? Kasi initially people will think family problems, family stress is usual suspects, right? But are there external issues that could be the main sources or additional sources of triggers for mental health issues that we've learned about in recent years through data that's coming out?
Well, TJ Bong Bonaventura. I mean, looking in terms of the current situation with the pandemic, it's been well established with studies that we've seen coming out from China and also in the US and also local studies as well in the Philippines, that people are reacting adversely to the current situation of the pandemic. But we also need to look at the previous learnings that we've had, kasi yung mga previous pandemic like in SARS, which primarily affected like areas like Hong Kong, and also, but you need to consider other countries like Canada. So yung isolation and quarantine, and then yung fear of working with infected individuals, oftentimes the impact can be immediate, no, may anxiety and depression nakikita and distress, no, but we've also seen based on previous studies that there can also be delayed effects, no, and these are just, for example, with frontliners or people dealing with people who are sick, but for those who are sick themselves, so we're predicting that for patients who have COVID-19 now, meron silang acute manifestations, but even though gumaling sila sa karamdaman nila sa ngayon, there could also be late sequelae. So, half a year from now, pwede pa rin sila magkaroon ng what we call distress symptoms. And so this emphasized based on your question, the role of the environment in terms of mental health issues. So, significant yun. So we've also seen that experience natin with disasters. For example, itong nangyari na lang ngayon sa UDC, sa Raleigh, even with the Taal eruption earlier this year, yung mga ganyang examples ng disasters do create a lot of psychological trauma on affected individuals. Pero we need to understand also that not all individuals will become affected, that there will be individuals who will be more vulnerable or will be more prone.
All right. Here's an interesting question, which relates to cultural issues. My sister, this is a question that was posed. She said her sister recently passed away by suicide. Being in a Chinese family, she says they were made to believe that depression is not a sickness and that is just something OA. How do I change our parents' thoughts on mental health? It's quite challenging. It's traditional, right? Na even Filipinos, may ganun, maraming traditional Philippine families.
Right.
I guess also obviously to the Filipino Chinese community for their. How do you when you encounter that? How do you address those challenges when there are parents who think this is not real? Let me pick on the other panelists just to get more involvement. Doc Vista, are you still there? Doc Benjamin?
I'm here.
Yep. Did you hear the question?
The rest of the panel answers questions so well. I don't have anything to say.
We need you.
Si Ben pa,
Yeah, well, years back, TJ, there was an attempt to put certain disorder in the DSM, the Manual of Mental Disorders,
right,
called asthenia, no? Kasi, and it actually evolved from the data from Asia. So, well, that probably be a cross between anxiety and depression, and it's really something to behold, because it's when they talk about the symptoms, the Asians themselves, and these are predominantly Chinese, no? So natural lang sa kanila yon, at hindi naman dapat sabihin na disorder na yon. And so the question actually is a very good question, because the categories that we are using actually to determine the line between what is considered a disorder, or, by the way, the mental health law doesn't like us to use the word disorder. We like to, we're supposed to use the word condition. So, yeah, so a mental health condition is rather Western based. And what I will say, siguro, to answer the question is, we really need to beef up our data gathering locally so that we can come up with our own, and not a Western based kind of a criteria in determining what is and what is not.
Right.
So yan lang siguro ang masasabi ko, kasi we have cultural nuances that are really unique to us.
Yeah.
And to answer the question, though, maybe it will be good, education, diba? So perhaps maybe teaching, perhaps maybe giving information. That would probably be something that can happen in a situation like this. Sometimes in my clinic, when there are issues like that, I actually ask the permission of the patient. So yeah, so you're having this problem. Maybe you can actually bring your mom and dad here, so maybe we can discuss, the situation that you're having. So siguro yan lang masasabi ko.
Right.
Thank
Agree.
Galing. Excellent points. Okay. Here's another interesting question as well. With regards to this pandemic, so lockdown, can't socialize with friends, stuck at home, but your family is your trigger. And
Ah.
you are confined to your family more than you would like. How do they work this out when they're physically locked in? I mean, this is so unique and so new, of course, no?
Mm.
How
Actually,
can
yep, it's really very challenging. I've had several consultations along these lines, particularly from couples, but I've also gotten some consultations like from other members of the family. And it's particularly challenging if you're a very big family and then you live in a very small place. Kasi before the lockdown, like people would be at work, especially, but because there will also be people working at night. So like you're usually just with a few other people during specific periods of time. But now, especially during the early parts of the lockdown, diba, no, like everyone was like, sabi nga ni Miss Charmaine kanina, di ba, nung at the start of the pandemic, sabi niya, I have a lot of time to do to do a lot of projects. Then people was thinking, no, there's a lot of time to bond, no. Then, but after a while, it became so irritating na. But the thing is, it only happens. Sa tingin ko, no, but based on my experience, no, that only happens if there's already something underneath, no, like there were already issues as far as the relationships were concerned. Especially, for example, and the reason I speak about this is because I also see this with elder, because my practice primarily with geriatrics, and this happens a lot with couples, particularly like with, let's say, the man starting to retire from work and then now is like at the house 24/7. So now he gets underfoot, with the wife trying to do her stuff, but the husband is there all the time and pestering her. So now it's happened with the lockdown. But again, as I've mentioned, if you don't know the personality of the people that you're living with, then it's going to be a challenge because you find out later on, apparently I don't like you snoring, or apparently I didn't realize you smoke that much. Okay, so there are things that open this up. So my advice has always been, then talk it out. Okay, because I mean, your family, you're related to each other. You probably most likely love each other and care for each other. Then if there's some things that irritate you from the other person, then then just talk it out. Because what happens is all of us are affected. All of us are in lockdown. All of us are irritable. All of us are anxious. And so therefore, when we see something that the other person is doing that starts to trigger us, or provoke us, then it's probably not because of that person per se, not because of that specific behavior, but because of the situation that we are in. And so my suggestion is to discuss this, point this out, because there are steps to be able to that one can do to deal with this.
Right. Bring it out in the open.
Yes.
Not the usual sweep it under the rug until that lump under the rug just gets too big. You
Or
can't
just
walk over it anymore.
because sometimes, di ba, like yung kasabihan nga na the straw that broke the camel's back, na you keep it to yourself, kinikim-kim mo, until such a point, bigla kang puputok na, ano ba, nakakairita ka? Yung mga gano'n, no? So, pag sa simula pa lang napapansin na natin, I mean, pag-usapan na natin.
Agree. Very well said, Doc. Okay.
TJ.
Sige, Doc Vista, go ahead. And then Doc Cruz after.
Maybe, kind of thinking about why this thing is happening. Maybe that could be one reason. Maybe it's a way. The message of COVID is go back to the family and heal the wounds.
Not do, yeah. Agree.
And that probably is the ultimate message that, well, this pandemic is a terrible strain on us, but it also gives us, I think, a lot of insight if you just think of it, and a lot of, I call it, sometimes I call it God's hammer. It's kind of teaching us, go back to the family. I mean, bond with them again. This is an opportunity for you to do that.
Yeah.
And if there initially are clashes, because of course you're not used to dealing with your family members that way, then rise above it, and as Dr. Bong says, talk it out, try to reason with it, but have an idea of baka naman yan ang dahilan kung bakit tayo kinukulong dito ngayon, kasi kailangan tayong magkakilala uli. I'm just saying. So, just a thought.
Well said. Thank you. Excellent point. Doc Cruz, you raised your hand.
Yeah, for pediatricians, no, I think we are more on the lookout on the abuse, no, that is happening in the home, no, because sometimes, no, they come in as behavior problem or parang ano lang, no, but it turns out when you actually ask, no, the children or the adolescents are being abused, not just physically, verbally, emotionally, and that is also something that we are as pediatricians looking after, no, kasi the safety of our adolescents and our children are sometimes missed out, no, kasi because of this pandemic, baka ano lang, no, mainit lang ang ulo ni tatay, walang kita, walang pera, no, but we need to check on those two.
Oh, that's a great point, Doktora. Kasi may informal reports sa PNP na yung abuse, not just of children but of women as well, seems to be rising. So that's a good point that you've raised.
That's right. That's really true.
And one thing that I wanted to share also is, meron nga akong isang friend, sabi niya, siguro yung pandemic is the time for us to reflect because I think the Lord daw has been pounding on this for several years already at ngayon lang talagang parang lahat nabulaga, no? What I mean is everyone was so taken back by everything. There's the shock initially when we have the pandemic. But thinking about it, we have been surviving for 8 months already. And I think parang okay naman, no? What I mean is, I want to think of positive things when you are in this pandemic, na the family that you hardly knew before, you are already bonding with them. You can have your, you can have your TikTok, you can have you can have fun, no? You can watch your Netflix. Nahilig na rin ako sa K-drama because of my children. Alam mo yun? So, something that I'm so happy about. But of course, I know that we have a lot of challenges right now. It's just that we have to keep on moving and be an inspiration to everyone.
Agree. Well said. Thank you. Okay, and there's one more question here. Follow-up question about the Chinese family part. Ang tanong po niya, if they don't have an open mind, how can you even start that conversation if they're super duper conservative, traditional, religious family? How do you even break the ice?
I'll take a stab at it.
Go, Doc Bong.
My usual practice kasi is to look for someone that the family looks up to. So it could be a parish priest, a pastor, or someone else, could be a member of the family that's outside, who could be an ally in treatment. Kasi this takes into consideration yung process of what you call intervention for substance abusers. You get people to help out. The problem, of course, with some cultural traditions and family traditions become very insular, so it's going to be very challenging for people to come in. Kaya in my practice, generally, pag may mga ganun situations, I'm very fortunate that I have colleagues that I can refer them to, because, for example, I in a situation like this, baka Chinese psychiatrists would be in a better position to understand the meanings, because often, katulad na nabanggit ni Dr. Vista kanina, there's a denial to accept that there's a disorder, that there's a problem, or that a dysfunction. Kasi for older members of the family to acknowledge that, kasi baka maging source of embarrassment yun or kahihiyan. So then let's get away with labels and instead encourage the older, more traditional members of the family to just simply provide help. So it's not looking at the help in terms of someone having a disorder or someone has a dysfunction, but someone needs help. And therefore, the older members, the more traditional members would be in a better position to provide that help. Kaya maganda yung point ni Dr. Vista na In this situation, probably you don't need to assign a label, but just mention that, just emphasize that someone is in distress, someone needs help, and that the other members of the family would be in a better position to provide that kind of help.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. We wish we had much more time to discuss, but we've taken a lot of your time and our audiences. I'm sure Doc Erlin will find a way to do this again. We had so many people stick around for about 3 hours. It's 6 a.m. here and I'm still awake and vibrant. Nakayanan ko because you guys have been amazing. Thank you so much. All right. So again, thank you. Kanina she had to go ahead. No? Doc Vergara of the World Health Organization, she went ahead. Doc Vista, Doc Bong Benaventura, Doc Babes Manalo, and of course Doc Cruz. Maraming salamat. Great to chat with all of you, and I'll see you around for sure again sometime soon. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. Now before we close this up, let's now pause and listen to our final song for the night. And this song is from Pop Diva and EPCALM advocate. Ladies and gentlemen, please cool Desma.
I reach out to the heavens with outstretched arms to offer you a song with words unspoken and music known and heard by you alone. Into your presence I kneel and bow, unworthy as I am. Yet you tell me to be still and know you love me just the same. The fragrance of worship is found in the heart of one who's abandoned, lost in your love. Lord, you are worthy of praise. How can you love me? Lord, I'm amazed. The fragrance of worship is found in the tears of one who's been wounded, broken and healed, touched by your mercy, saved by your grace. I've been forgiven. Lord, I'm amazed. I reach out to the heavens with outstretched arms to offer you a song with words unspoken and music known and heard by you alone. Into your presence I kneel and bow, unworthy as I am. Yet you tell me to be still and know you love me just the same. The fragrance of worship is found in the heart of one who's abandoned, lost in your love. Lord, you are worthy of praise. How can you love me? Lord, I'm amazed. The fragrance of worship is found in the tears of one who's been wounded, broken amazed. Lord, you are worthy, worthy of praise. How can you love me? Lord, I'm amazed.
All right. Thank you so much once again to Miss Kuli Desma for that amazing song. At this point, let's hear a message from one of the organizers. Without her, we would not be here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and board chair of EPCOM, Dr. Erlyn Demere.
Hi, TJ. Thank you very, very much to everyone. It has been an amazingly blessed and inspiring evening. You'd agree. The 3 hours just like slipped by, and I know it isn't meant to end with a tap of your finger on the tab that says leave meeting. This is just the start of a journey we can choose to go through together to be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually healthy. If we just enter into the newly opened links and doors of opportunity to help each other. We have all been divinely connected. Every mother who shared her story and every child who listened, every single person tuned into this online event for mental health awareness, I am confident was personally called by name by our Heavenly Father. May our Lord Jesus fill the gaps that this online sharing will leave behind as we part our ways, so that each heart will be filled with what is only of Him, for in Him there is always hope. No matter what challenges life sends our way, we can choose to be happy and rejoice in any situation, knowing that a cheerful heart is good medicine. Well, mental well being is God's priority, I guess. And He cares for what goes on in our minds, and that would flow into our hearts and into our words and into our actions. In Romans 12:2, it is written, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. Through all the uncertain days ahead, we can be assured that all these will pass, and what will remain are the lessons God has taught us with every tear or sigh of despair, and with every bit of frustration and fear, and with every act of kindness given and received. This is the fragrance of worship indeed. Our Lord is closest to the brokenhearted, close to all those with mental health challenges. What a wonderful assurance. So as we part ways tonight, may we anchor ourselves on the one true God who will never leave nor forsake us, nor waste any tear. So we can face the days ahead, especially Christmas and the coming new year, with more hope and less fear. Let us be one in raising the flag of hope, for that is the gift our Lord gives us fresh every day, and it comes from the very core of those who believe on the finished work of Christ on the cross. EPCAM Ministries and PCP, through its advocacy committee, will continue to spur mental health awareness till every person feels reached and not alone, till communities of hope will be born, raised, and lived, and the long-etched stigma on the face of mental health will be reduced, if not totally erased. And in its place will rise towers of hope planted on foundations of love and compassion. Together, we can be healing beacons of Christ's light for a hurting world. We are to be salt and light of the earth. This is the noble purpose that our Lord has given each one of us. And if we allow His light to shine through us, He will make rivers of living water flow through the dry lands of our lives, so that in Him we will truly enjoy the life He intended for each of us, a life of abundance, which is definitely not a life free of trials and uncertainty, not at all, but a life full of hope. Thank you to all. Thank you so much, especially to Dr. Mario Panaligan, the current president of the Philippine College of Physicians, who is a leukemia victor. the PCP and the EPCAM board, the PCP staff and organizers for your tireless efforts to make this event a success. To the brave mothers and the celebrity advocates for sharing your talents, and for all present here for catching the vision of hope. I would like to say special thanks to EPCOM Executive Director Mitch Duran, who toiled day and night just to pull this event through. For Sunny Koo, EPCOM Resource Mobilization Director, who himself is a victor over illness, for the concept of a mother's story. EPCOM President and my better half, Engineer Justice DeMary, for always being ready to support and keep all of us grounded. And to our dear host, TJ Manotok, who is a symbol of recovery and hope. TJ, you're inspiring. You're an inspiring, awesome image that there is life after depression and we can be victorious over any mental health challenge. After tonight, my dear friends, may we see life from a new perspective, that mental health challenges excuses no one, yet it creates in each of us the potential to be used for God's greater glory. So let's go the distance, let's hold it together, and may this be our fragrance of worship to our Lord Jesus. Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lynn. And see, I told you your Wi-Fi would hold up. Maraming salamat for everything, for putting this together, for all those inspiring words as well. Thank you so much to EPCOM and to PCP. Thank you to everybody. All right. For our closing prayer, I want to bring back Pastor Benny Lagos. Pastor Benny, please.
Thank you so much, TJ. That was a wonderful message, Dr. Erlene, and for all of the professionals who were on here. I was inspired by your messages, as well as for all of those who shared your testimonies. And as wonderful as the medicine and the doctors, psychologists, and psychiatrists, as wonderful as you are and you play a role through this process, I just want to encourage everyone to increase their hope. Lakasan natin ang ating pananampalataya. You know, raise our hope to the one who is hope, and the hope's name is Jesus. So before I pray, I want to encourage you to the lyrics of this song that says, you don't have to worry and you don't have to be afraid. For joy cometh in the morning, troubles they don't last always. For we have a friend named Jesus, and he will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, just lift your hands and say, I know that I can make it. I know that I can stand. For no matter what comes my way, my life is in your hands. So, Father, thank you for this evening. Thank you, Lord, for the people who were encouraged and for those who were encouragers tonight. Lord, you know our challenges, our hurts, and our pains. We trust your word that says, come to me, all of you who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So, Father, we give you our bodies, we give you our spirits, we give you our mind, because we need rest. So, Father, ultimately, we trust you for wholeness and healing. So do a work, Lord God, that only you can do. Father, open doors no man can close, and close doors no man can open in our lives, in our bodies, in our healing, in our disorders, in every area of our lives. Lord, we trust you. Use us for your glory, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor Benny. All right, friends, it's been an amazing evening. Literally, we stretched the whole evening of sharing of mother stories of courage and hope, insightful learnings, inspirational songs. We thank all of you for taking time out for being with us tonight. And for those of you here in the US this morning, or for those of you in Europe or other parts of the world, whatever time you are in, thank you for taking time out to be with us. We thank all those who contributed to making this online event possible. Our mothers, the brave, brave mothers, the panel of experts, celebrity advocates for their songs and words of inspiration. The production team, Direct Mitch and everybody else in the production team, thank you so much. The organizing committee, the board of directors and trustees of EPCOM and PCP officers and board of regents, maraming salamat. So for me, all the way from San Francisco, California, this is TJ Manotok, your host, signing off. I will go to bed quite soon. Hope for mental health, toward creating communities of hope and recovery. We wish everybody the best physical and mental health. And We'll see you again soon. Maraming salamat and good night, everybody. Thank you.